it going? I'm Justin, here with John. We've known each other for, I don't know, not too crazy long now, but I think you're a phenomenal human being as a whole. And a devout man of faith, I would say. I don't know if that's the best way to describe it, but again, I mean, spiritually, I look up to you, and like you do a lot of things well, in my
Thank
opinion.
you.
College educated, I'd say very articulate, well versed, and intelligent. I think I don't know. I think very highly of you. I'll just have you know that first and foremost.
Well, thank you.
And you've got a lot of perspectives and a lot of I don't know. We converse well, so it's nice to have you here.
Well, more than happy to. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be given the opportunity, and I'm glad that our friendship has blossomed into this. Of course,
Yeah, man.
I think very highly of you as well. You obviously have shown from again the short time we've known each other, listening to your life stories, from what we've talked about before and here is the maturity and the development of yourself and taking accountability. I look very highly upon that.
I appreciate that. Military, I guess, has it always been the ideal goal, or I guess
I would say military has always been the goal. You know, since the beginning. I was raised as a military brat, born abroad in Germany originally.
Okay. Where in Germany?
Lichtenfeld. It's right outside Bamberg, Germany, near Bavaria.
You said you have your degree in criminology?
Yes. I graduated from Missouri State. I graduated in 24. I started my education at college at 17, so I also started young.
You started at 17?
I started at 17, so
What month is your birthday?
May. So
wow.
My acceptance letter to start college arrived right before I turned 18. So I was applied and enrolling in classes right before I turned 18 years old. So I was actually on my bus ride to basic training, ironically that summer, to go turn 18.
Nice.
So I finished up my freshman year. I graduated college at 21 instead of like 22, 23.
Okay. I didn't know that. That's impressive.
Yeah, I started school young. Yeah, I started school pretty young. My mom got me into like Fort Linwood pre-K, and like pretty much as soon as I was able to. That way, I was ready for kindergarten, and I still cried on my first day.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, it's a change. So
it is. Yeah. So I started college young. I was a young graduate of high school, younger college graduate in my class. I went to high school and most of my later elementary, junior high in little country town near Fairview. Graduated East Newton. If anybody watching this ever knows what that high school actually is, like that I graduated at all is a pretty big step up. Again, small country town. A lot of people quit usually just to go farm.
If people know where you're from at any point during this, I'm going to feel like the world's biggest rock star. I'm just going to let you know that right now. If people are like, yeah, I know John, I know, I'm going to be like, I made it. And then I know we spoke yesterday about it, the emphasis on anti-terrorism or homeland security or something.
So part of my criminology degree at Missouri State, they allow you to take certificates, which is like an expansion upon your degree. So you can have your basic criminology degree and you can branch off into forensics, social studies, whatever you're trying to get in the career field, because criminology is very broad.
Yeah.
It covers all sorts of things from just basic cop work to forensic investigators to even 3-letter agency work. And I, military minded as a child and going up through high school and just wanting to do this as a career, I decided to go into Homeland Security and Defense. And it took a lot of, it begins very basic social justice classes and learning like American law and politics and how that affects the criminology system as a whole. And then it branches off to domestic terrorism, extremism, left and right wing. What are the difference? A unique serial killer course I got to do. So it breaks off into all sorts of different sides of criminology, but it was a unique course to take because it allows you to get a certificate that's approved and shows that they do have knowledge and a base understanding of what domestic and foreign terrorism is and how that differentiates from each other.
rather than just like, hey, I went to college and studied some
Exactly.
stuff.
So it's just a way to refine your resume per
Yeah.
se.
Now, is it a minor specific, or is it?
It's an attachment.
Okay.
It's not truly a minor. So my minor is military science,
Okay.
which is, from what I've understood, is pretty much any ROTC candidate has to have that as their minor to earn their commission.
Okay.
You can double minor, of course, and all that stuff. But it's a certificate that is attached to your major, and it just gives you an extra bonus point as a good way to put it on your resume.
Okay.
Once you graduate.
All right.
I originally enlisted, and I attended basic training at Fort Sill. Signed up for my national ROTC scholarship shortly after and was accepted.
So you enlisted into the National Guard.
The Missouri National Guard, correct?
Okay, so you
My
National Guard and then college, and then
I originally enlisted to help pay off my first year of college, and then by the time I returned from basic training that summer, my scholarship was ready to take effect. So I was then also discharged from the National Guard because the federal funding from the state or the national scholarship can't be paying you at the same time as the National Guard state.
Essentially double dipping in
exactly to federal and state. So I was discharged from the National Guard and was picked up by the Army, big Army.
Okay.
And then I graduated CST pretty well, near the top of my platoon, and then I graduated with a decent GPA, I think like 3.2.
Yeah.
And was given the chance to go active duty.
Yep.
And so I took that opportunity, and so now I'm here.
All right, sure. Have you been back to Germany or Europe at all?
I have not been back. I want to, but the only place I've been out of states myself has been Korea so far.
How was that?
I enjoyed Korea a lot. It was right at the end of COVID, so I was blessed. I didn't catch Korea during COVID, which
so you got the reopening phase, if you will?
Pretty much. They were still pretty strict on what was allowed. There were some issues but I mean, again, those people spoke foreign languages to me, so I wasn't really privy on the conversation.
Yeah.
But Korea was just reopening, I would say, to its norm life when I got there. And it's funny because they really harped on like personal space, 6 feet apart, masks. And then when I took my first trip into Seoul, I mean, it just went out the window. Mainly because like 80% of the population of Korea live in Seoul, so it's packed. But I think the people of Korea themselves are just like, it's whatever, it's over.
I feel like the space, like I don't think it was hard for us per se as Americans, but like internationally, to my knowledge, like Americans definitely have more of a personal space bubble rather than like other countries have closer. I don't want to say like closer knit by any means, but they're more accustomed to.
They're more community driven.
Yeah,
which is a fair assumption, including with Korea, because it's really been more modernized recently. So when we look at country development, right, Korea has been one of the newest countries that have ever been developed that have been given, let's say, cars and modern technology that we consider normal since the past 60 some years, because right after the Korean War and North and South Korea were made, both powers at the time, global powers, moved in. The U.S. and NATO moved into South Korea, and then China and Russia moved into North Korea at the time. That's probably the first time that country was ever introduced to mobilization on mass scale, having personal cars, large foundries and factories that worked on industrial levels, paved roads of our quality. So they're recently catching up, and they're catching up quickly too, which is phenomenal. And so South Korea is very unique in that sense that they've caught up to some of the leading industries in the world. I mean, one of the leading car brands is out of their own country, Hyundai. So that they can work their own country and produce that so quickly after just being opened up to modern infrastructure was unique. But I thoroughly enjoyed my time in Korea. Some people don't on the military side. And I think we talked about this before too. It's just what you make of it.
Right.
If you sit inside and you don't do anything, and you're like, "Man, I'm so far from home," which is a natural feeling, including for guys who are just getting there for their first rotation or whatever. Yeah, it is. It is a big jump. I mean, you're on a 13-hour time difference. You're in a completely new place. You probably don't know how to speak the language. but everything's cheap there. The American dollar has a really good value still, and as long as you have, someone to show you around, go spend time out in the town. Go invest in the culture. Go learn the history. Even if it's something you're not truly into, just give yourself the experience and go do something that you don't get the opportunity to here in the States. And so I think Korea is great for people who want to try to learn more about the outside world and different cultures themselves. Uh, but you got to be able to take that leap of faith, because my first time in Seoul, I got completely lost.
Oh yeah.
I was at like 1% battery life, and my buddy was at a hotel, and I'm like, "What's the name of this place?" And he's like, "I don't know. I booked it. I don't know the name of it." He's like, "I can send you the address." And Waze works there really well, but Google Maps is trash.
Right.
Um, and so I get in this taxi, and the guy like immediately says no English, and I'm like, "I'm down to 1%. I ain't got time to figure out who speaks English in these taxi cabs." And I'm like, "I need you to take me to this hotel." And he goes, I'm like, so I'm trying to, I know very rudimentary Korean at this point.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need to go here. And I'm trying to communicate the term to him. And he says something in Korean, and it sounded very similar. And so I go, nay, which is yes. And he starts taking off. And I'm looking at my phone on Waze, and we're going the opposite direction. I'm like, no. And with Korean, at least from my understanding when I was there, how big you hold your hands up for no determines how like critical it is.
Yeah.
So if you just say no, that's like you're kind of iffy on it.
Yeah.
If you go like small x no, that's like I could be convinced otherwise. But like when you do like no, like that's no. I was like I'm sitting in this back seat, and it's like 1 a.m. and I hand him my phone. I just give him. I'm like there, and he goes okay. Turns around. We finally get there, and like my phone dies like shortly after. And I meet my buddy, and I'm like, dude, one, where are we? And two, what are we doing? He goes, I have no clue. We're just gonna wake up in the morning and send it. And so we're both hungry. It's like 1:30 in the morning there, and they're like 7-Elevens without the gas pumps, but they're like inside all these mega complexes because there's not like a ton of street space, and so gas stations are unique, as in like they're kind of like their own segments, but convenience stores are everywhere, and they're like little 7-Elevens. And we walked for like an hour and a half trying to find like one of these little sidebar grills that you could sit at, but they were all closed. And so we go into this convenience store, and we get like really cheap ramen, and we were trying out the drinks, and there was this soda pop with like a Batman logo on it. I'm like, oh, this is going to be cool. It's themed. It just said cola, and there was no ingredients list on it. So I have no idea what I drank, but it tasted like cola. And then we woke up and we got lost on the subway. Didn't know where we were. Like you just got to have those experiences.
Oh yeah.
Because like that's what defines, I can say I've really screwed up, but I also like found my way back. Like you figured it out. And so getting those experiences are always fun in my opinion. I can see how that could be disturbing.
I mean, I'm sure there's some part where like a new experience is definitely intimidating, and I know.
Right.
I mean, especially being a creature of habit. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that new exciting, and it's like, no.
Yeah.
And whether it's something just falls through or it's me not wanting to do it,
and I'd say Korea is a really good place to do that too, because I felt very safe while I was there. It's very controlled environment. I could see some places where if you went, you'd be like, I don't feel safe at all. Which I had an experience like that when I was trying to get to Korea. I had a 12-hour overlay in San Francisco at that airport. And I definitely felt like exploring that alone was not the greatest idea. So I decided to just sleep next to the terminal. But
so did you end up leaving the airport, or did you stay in?
I did. I eventually finally got a hotel room, thanks to my parents. They were like, I called them like, hey, I have this 12-hour overlay, and can't find a lot of people to help me right now because I was getting told way different information than I was supposed to for my flights to Korea. And my mom was like, all right, well, there's a hotel open like right here. So I was like, all right, I'll give them a call. Got a cab there. Crazy cab story. Guy comes out and very heavily like Middle Eastern, Afghani. And he sees that I have my 2 duffel bags, and he goes, oh, soldier. I'm like, yeah, I'm a soldier. And he starts driving like 80 miles an hour down this interstate, looking backwards at me with his Facebook open, showing me pictures of him as a security guard over in Afghanistan. And I'm like, that's great, dude, but you should watch the road. And he's like smoking a cigarette, talking to me. And I'm like, I'm going to die. I'm not even going to make it to the hotel.
Going to travel across the world, not even going to make it out of the country.
Yeah, I know. And so I finally made it. It was a little Best Western. Spent the night there, got a taxi back just fine. Got through the terminal with some issues, but I had some really good people that helped me out. You got to Korea. It was a long flight. It was like 12.5-hour flight. I slept for most of it. I was pretty tired. I pride myself. It's a weird pride, but I was able to fly to Korea and fly back without having to get up to use the restroom. Like, people said it couldn't be done. I did it.
It's like they said it wasn't me, but in fact it was.
So I like to think I made a little world record doing that, which, I mean, it isn't, but like, I don't know, it made me feel good at the time.
Hey, it might be.
Korea was a great experience, and that's what got me wanting to travel the world more and like enjoy the opportunities the Army can give you. Again, I'd like to go back to Europe, including back to Germany, just to kind of exceed what my mom and dad did. But it was a cool opportunity as a college kid, because I was a sophomore in college, got the opportunity, pretty much an Army paid vacation per se. Went to Korea for 2 months to do some cool training. And it was attached with a flight unit, so I got to work around a lot of helicopters.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
And
I mean, who doesn't like flying now?
Yeah, it was cool because it wasn't something I wanted to do at the time, and sometimes I wish I kind of went back and did it. But I got to see the DMZ medevac because I was at Camp Humphreys, so I got to see all the cool like helicopters that get to fly on the DMZ. They're the DMZ stripes. But I was attached to like the General Support Aviation Brigade. And they were like all the VIP flights. So all the like big wigs at Camp Humphreys, like if they ever wanted to fly anywhere, like they were the company to go to. I got a really cool DMZ tour. That was unique to go see the DMZ. Got my cell reception jammed by North Korean towers. That was cool.
Probably like tapped your phone as well.
Probably. Well, there were guys that would pop out of like, so again, it was right at the end of COVID. South Korea kept their like DMZ side really clean and like pristine, and North Korea's was just like abandoned. Like they didn't have anybody outside of it.
Really?
But like you would see the windows part every now and then, like these old NBC chemical suits.
Really?
In gas masks, and you see like these old time cameras. And they would like take pictures of the tour. So my face is probably in North Korea somewhere. But it was that was unique to see the DMZ.
One thing that we haven't covered. Tell me about your knee injury. Like, I know we've talked about, like, you've had it, and it sounds super fun and not painful at all.
I really wish that was the case. So when I was in Korea, we had this really cool opportunity that we did every other day for PT, and you have to do Taekwondo with the ROK guys, the Republic Army of Korea.
Okay.
Or the Republic of Korea
right.
Troops. They're called ROKs.
Yep.
And they were all professional instructors, and they were showing us these really deep tissue stretches, which were really great. Never knew how to do them because I just showed up. And we were doing like these really deep knee stretches, and I leaned all my weight on it like they were telling me to. And my foot kind of came up, and I heard this like really, really fun like pop rock sound go off on my knee.
I don't think it's supposed to do that.
And it's definitely not. And it really hurt like when it happened, but then like the pain just went away. And every now and then when I would take a knee and I'd stand up, it would catch and I'd have to pop it. And that probably would have been the first sign to go check it out. But I also wasn't trying to lose any of my very precious time in Korea. I was like, oh, I won't go check it out. It still catches and pops. Go back to ROTC, do a couple ACFTs on it, do a couple ruck marches on it. I'm playing.
Because I mean, at this point, it's like uncomfortable from time to time.
But it's been so long.
Yeah.
And I'm playing this one game. Oh, I just forgot the name of it. There's a little net on the ground, and you bounce the ball off of it.
I know
spike ball. It's spike ball.
Yep.
It's like so you hit the ball down. And I jump to hit the ball, and we're about to play in our volleyball tournament, and I land on my toes on my right foot, and I just feel something like snap, and like all the feeling beneath my knee goes numb, and I have this burning hot pain in my knee, and I fall on. I'm like, I can't move my leg, and my guy's like, "You okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I just need a couple minutes to stretch it out.
Just need to die here for a minute."
I played the volleyball tournament on it.
Oh my god!
And it really hurts, but the sand made it feel a lot better. It was sand volleyball, And then I play football the next day with my boys. Same thing happens. And I'm like, okay, that's twice in a row. Something's drastically wrong. I get it checked out at the college like medical facility, and they're like, could be a torn ACL, it could be a torn ligament. We really don't know. You need an MRI. I go through like 3 different medical doctors because TRICARE, in its infinite wisdom, kept screwing up the payments. And so they're like, oh, well, we can't actually cover this. You got to go through this provider and this provider. We finally got to Cox, which is a very popular brand in the Midwest. And they're like, so we got to redo your x-rays again because you can't transfer x-rays from different medical providers.
Really?
To go from x-ray to MRI. At least that's what I was told. Could just be, money business. But whatever. TRICARE covered it, so I'm okay. Go for x-rays for the 3rd time, just like every other time, you have no injuries. So it has to be an MRI. Go to my MRI in October. And I just got back from our military dine out right before Thanksgiving. And I'm told that I have a bucket-handled J-hook meniscus tear, blah, blah, blah. Basically, meniscus lies flat, and on the right side of my knee, it flipped. And so it was stacked like this. So I had bone on bone. And that's why up and down stairs hurt so bad.
So
the disc is, it
I was
lays
gonna say,
flat.
it's disc-like?
It's a disc, yeah.
Okay.
And the meniscus is that like squishy disc that sits between the knee, like where it bends.
Yeah.
And it cushions the bones.
So is it like a donut or a pancake?
Pancake.
Okay.
And pancake flipped on itself.
Yeah.
And so they had to go down and then sew it back. And
how long did you had it slowly been flipping, or do you know any of that?
I think the damage to the tissue was done, but I think jumping and then landing hard on it forced it to, I think the left side of my disc was supporting my knee, and then when I put all that strain on it from the jump and the land, it pulled hard enough to whatever that tear started, it just gave out. And I think that pain was the disc ripping.
Yeah.
Worst pain I probably I've been through.
Yeah, I can't.
Because it's like there's outer level pain, but then when something inside you snaps, it's different. It feels very hot and you can't control it.
Yeah. No, I've broken bones. I've done some weird, relatively non-surgical repair injuries, and I couldn't imagine tearing a ligament or.
Well, it's all cartilage, and so it was very unique. I wasn't really used to a cartilage injury. I've had some ligament injuries before, and they're like, okay, well we're going to get you a surgery as quick as we can, and it was 2 days before Christmas. That's when I was slotted to go.
Mom, grab the wheelchair. I'm coming home.
And so I was in it. I was same day process, so I went in at 4 a.m, left at noon, and I was high off my rocker. I remember I was so sleepy because I woke up from I wasn't allowed fluids 24 hours before, and I've always been bad with needles because I don't have very predominant veins. Well, I've been told it's very weird. I have good veins when I can hydrate. I mean, normal people.
Yeah.
But I wasn't able to ingest liquids or foods 24 hours before the surgery, so my veins were very thin. And they stuck me 6 or 7 times trying to get my freaking. They stick me a bunch of times. They finally get the anesthesiologist in. That's his name. They're like, all right, we're going to take you in. And they put the mask on me and they're wheeling me back. I'm like, I really don't feel anything, man. And they're like, yeah, okay, buddy. And then they get me on the table and they start doing their things and they're count backward from 10. And I remember getting to 3 and I remember raising my hand. I'm like, that's a light. And the doctor says, yeah, it sure is, buddy. Because the light was getting bigger because my eyes were dilating.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a light. I was very, very aggressive about it. And they're like, it sure is. And then the next thing I know, I'm legs suspended and I'm like, I need morphine. And the doctor's like, we just gave you some. I'm like, I need more. This really hurts.
It's you missed it by 5 minutes.
Yeah. I was in a very unhappy mood. I was very hungry. I was very tired and I was in a lot of pain. And the first thing my nurse says when I get back to the surgery room is you need to get up and pee. Because they put the catheter in you. And I'm like, I don't want to stand, and I don't have to pee. And they're like, we can't release you until you pee. And so I get up and I hobble, and she's like, you need to walk. I'm like, no, I'm going to do this by myself because I'm on pain meds and I'm high as a kite. I wobble into the bathroom and I just sit there and I'm just like I'm flexing as hard as I want to get out of there because my mom would be like, we'll take you to McAllister's. And like McAllister's, like now that like, you know, I don't live 45 plus minutes away from one, is like, it was a treat. Like the sweet tea and the club, like that was God's gift.
The club sandwich?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. Like, right? Like that's heaven. Yeah. Like the bread's toasted a little bit and it's got some bacon, that honey mustard. I'm a big honey mustard guy.
Honey mustard is.
And so the sweet tea and the honey mustard, like I was set. Like that's what I want. And so I'm just trying to get out of this place. But the hardest part about that was, the reason I went for the surgical repair was the doctor gave me two choices. We can remove it, 4 weeks max recovery. You're going to get arthritis really soon though. Or you can take a risk and you can try to repair it. There's no guarantee the repair is going to take, because I mean the body's going to do what it's going to need to do. And it's going to be a 12-month recovery, which means I was going to miss going to camp my junior year. I had to go my senior year. And I said, I'm going to go for the risk. I'm going to see if my body will take. I'd rather not
start arthritis tomorrow. Yeah. Thanks, Doc.
Exactly. And I had everybody tell me, you know, you're not going to make it. You know, you're not going to be able to go to airborne school, all this stuff. I was like, I want to prove them wrong. And I did 12 months of physical therapy. And again, thank the Lord for TRICARE. And that's the one thing I will credit the military with. It has great medical providers. They were a struggle to get through because there was an issue of I was just about to turn the age where I was taking off my dad's plan for his retiree, and I wasn't picked up by active duty just yet. But the physical therapy would take so long that I turned that age. I think it was 21. But since I was in school, it extends to 25. But no one wanted to work with us, and it was a grand old time. But in the end, they covered it, and I had really great physical therapists that really cared and really worked with me really well. I was going twice a week for 6 or 7 months, and they got me back in action. And I have a really good mentor back from my college university. And
again, there's a lot of things that you and I have just talked about personally.
Yeah.
And I don't know, sounds like a phenomenal human being. So whoever you are, thank you for that. Kudos to you, man.
He has a lot to do with my own growth.
Yeah.
And he's always been a pay it forward guy. All the information that you've learned from me, go give it to others.
Right.
And I think he was a God's gift due to some very, very trying times that he helped me through. But he's look, Blewett, you got to listen, man. You're going to baby this knee until you die, because he's so observant. I swear he probably has eyes on me right now somehow. Blewett, I can see it in you. I can see how you hold yourself. You're babying this knee. You're not really fully committed to it. You've told me you've healed. You've told me you're ready, but you're not putting in the effort. You're putting it in layman's terms. He didn't say this, but he implied it. You're fat. I mean, I still am. But I went from 180 pounds fighting weight right out of hard bodied. I was in the best shape of my life. Got a knee surgery. I went to 240 because I ate like I was when I was working out 3 times a day, because it was just normal. I did it for 3 years.
Yeah.
It was average for me to go eat Burger King every Friday with all my boys, and then game all weekend and not do anything, and then just go back to the gym and grind it out because I was burning the calories.
Right.
And then I kept eating like that while bedridden for 6 months. And he's like, you have to take accountability of your actions. And I'm like, but I thought I am. He's like, you're not committing to your physical training. You're not committing to your knee. You can get in your mind, and no matter how hard you try physically, your mind's going to hold you back.
Yeah.
You got to quit saying you can't run. You got to quit saying you can't go heavy. You got to quit saying you can't ruck. You just got to do it.
Yeah.
And the second you start doing it and see that your body can do it, you'll be fine. And I fought him so hard. I'm like, you don't understand. And he's had 3 meniscus repairs. He knows what I'm talking about.
It's always that guy that's hey, I'm in your corner. You got it.
Yeah.
And you're
and that's
you don't even know.
Yeah.
It's just come to find out that dude knows.
Yeah. He
knows more than anybody.
He superior knowledge on how to manipulate the body. And he's like, really? I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. And so if you ever watch this, or you won on that one. But I believed him. I was like, all right, I'm just going to full send it. I'm going to full send it. And ever since then, like, yeah, it annoys me every now and then, or sometimes it hurts. That's why, like, you might see me like swing my knee every now and then to pop
Yeah.
it. But I got to the point where I'm like, I am going to baby this and lose all my career hopes, or I'm just going to have to send it. And I sent it, and the mind's like, I've told you, I can handle it. You just kept holding yourself back.
Right.
And
oh man,
it's
that's
it's unique.
another
I've
topic.
always been told I suffer well, but the reason where the moment where I notice like I can truly trust this thing is there's this punishment he used to do for us on Ranger Challenge where you would sit at the bottom, like it's a football stadium. I don't know how many flights it would equate to, but at the very top it says Pride Band, where our band would sit. And you start at the push-up position, your hands at the bottom and your feet on the stairs, and you would push up and go up a step, push up and go up a step.
Like
And
backwards up
yeah, up the
oh,
steps.
Man.
So like you would do a push-up to the stairs, and then you'd go up a step, like backwards.
Yeah.
Push up a step. And so me and a friend of mine and this other girl was in his office all talking to him, and they kept calling him old, and I knew better, but they were just a year below me. They were MS3s, and they were really good performers, and so they always liked to tease him. And he made them both go up to it, and he would watch. And the girl was wearing like a lower cut shirt, and she's like, "Well, I don't want to because blah blah blah." And I was like, "Okay, I'll do it with him." And my buddy's like, "You don't have to do this." I'm like, "Well, no one ever suffers alone." That's what I said to him. And without being told, like I didn't even have to do it. I was just there to watch, but I did it with him up and down. Uh, and my buddy was like, "You could really stop. You don't have to do this with me." I'm like, "I'm going to do it with you." Like I just elected to let myself suffer. But my thought was, is no one ever goes at it alone. And he's like, "You did that all by yourself, perfectly fine. Like you can trust your knee." And I started trusting my knee, and I recovered, and I lost a ton of weight, and like I got back into where I needed to be. And it's amazing what the body can do.
Yeah.
You just have to allow yourself to do it because your mind will be your biggest friend and your worst enemy.
Absolutely. I like what you said. Nobody suffers alone. You do certain things that like show me that. Like it's something you just said, but like I've seen it in practice in you, and like just in the brief time we've known each other, like I've seen that, and I really respect that about you.
Well, thank you.
So I guess I wouldn't have thought about like North Korea's response to COVID.
From what South Koreans like told us, like including on the DMZ, was like they just shut the country down because like the DMZ guards, like they face each other right there on that thin line.
Yep.
Like two always are looking at each other, and they're like, yeah, they haven't posted guards here for like 2 years. Like we haven't seen them. And it was cool to like listen to like their stories as like DMZ guards, like how the North Koreans would try to bait them into stuff. Like they'll flash flashlights and play like gunfire sounds to like make them look like they're shooting, because whoever shoots the first shot over is like that's a criteria for like an engagement.
Right.
And like they believe that like that's rightfully their calling to fight. And like they blare propaganda back at each other through the big radios. I'm sure you've seen those videos and stuff all the time. But it's just it's a completely different world over there. I sometimes think people don't realize that, because like we always hear about North Korea and like their attempts to do missile tests and always push the boundaries, but I don't think people really realize how different their average life is from ours.
No.
Including when we look at what's going on in the world right now with like the freedom of speech, and like for Americans that First Amendment right, like that's not a thing over there. Like
yeah, I had a conversation.
Their life is completely censored.
Yeah, I had a conversation earlier with different rights and basically the privilege of being an American, right? There's definitely countries out there where you don't have that First Amendment right, or if you talk bad about the government or basically any influential political whatever figure it is, it's like you're persecuted for it or prosecuted for it. I don't know which vernacular to use, but we throw this word privilege out there, and it's like I very much believe in American privilege, and that's kind of it. Like
I would agree with that term.
Like and again, I might be part of the problem, if you will, but it's like people look at us like the world police, or like they look at our foreign affairs, and just different things that we're doing as a nation, and it's like I don't know how influential we are on the world scale as compared to like 10, 20 years ago, but I don't think we've ever lost the limelight. I think a lot of countries react to what we do. And I think it goes to show even the Russia Ukraine situation where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, what's the U.S. going to do about it? What's the
Mm-hmm.
U.S.'s take? And I think there's something to be said about that, especially for as young of a country as we are
Yeah.
historically,
Mm-hmm.
and just to see how that unfolds is kind of neat in real time.
Now, that is something interesting that you brought up is how the U.S. responds in foreign affairs. And when you think of foreign affairs and holding sway in that, you would think the British, the Germans, the French, these countries that have been around for hundreds of years and were global powerhouses at one point or another in their time, including the Brits.
Oh yeah,
And now they're like side players. They all hold sway, including like with their trade deals and things they do with Ukraine or the world. But it's always, are the U.S. going to send troops? Is the U.S. going to send aid? And there was a point in time not too long ago, like when the U.S. was thinking about cutting aid, and everyone was up in arms, like, well, if the U.S. cuts aid, we're toast. And we're all the way across the sea compared to geography of like Poland, Germany, France, Britain, Norway, Sweden, all these countries that are right next to the Ukrainians, who are all providing them with food, water, medicine, ammunition, military equipment, and financial aid. And it was the country all the way across the sea that they're like, we need you guys to continue to back us or we're gone.
yeah,
Which brings up interesting points, but it is unique to see the kind of weight that the U.S. can throw around, and it's kind of like boxing in a sense. We're one of those heavyweight champions that when we decide to land a blow, it's going to really hurt,
right.
but we're slow to move. So I would always say that's something America is we're a heavyweight champion because we build that power, and when the punch lands, it's going to really break something.
Yeah.
But it takes us forever to get there.
Oh yeah, and I think I don't know. It used to be, in my opinion, it's especially the way like my grandparents would talk, or like just other older people in society, if you will. It's like the U.S. used to be this mammoth of a machine that just used
Mm-hmm.
to just churn through the world, and like everything we did or said was like it was basically wrapped in gold.
Yeah.
And nowadays, I don't necessarily know if it feels the same way. I know, again, our last election was under the microscope in some regards. And again, like just the divisiveness of it blows my mind. And I think that's another point that we'll get into, I'm sure. Before we get there, I do want to bring up your faith. I know you're religious. I know you probably do substantially better than I do at practicing it. How did you, like, have you always been religious? Have you had,
To a degree, yes. First off, saying someone is more substantial in practice, that's all to interpretation. Um, I always say, if just to answer a question, like maybe not even a question, but just to put it out there, it's for someone who's struggling to like, what is substantial enough? Pray, read your scripture, and try to improve 1% every day than like you were previously.
yeah,
Um, as long as you're continuing to improve yourself and your soul and your faith,
I think,
you're going in the right direction.
yeah,
Um,
I absolutely agree with that.
but to roll back to your question is, I was not always in faith. I was exposed to the idea. Um, when I lived in Fort Leonard Wood for a time, like I was given the choice as a kid to go to church on Sundays, and as a kid, I'm like, I have no idea what this church stuff's about. I'm going to sleep, watch Cartoon Network, and eat my cereal. And like that was prime time for John.
Yep.
But I think it was around 8 or 9 years old. I went to church a couple times, and I heard a lot about this Jesus fellow.
Heard great things.
And I heard some wonderful things. And so I started to ask the question to my little brain of what is this all about? And I remember going up to mom and dad. We were down at my grandparents. My grandparents were extremely faithful. My grandfather's passed away, sadly.
Sorry to hear
But my grandmother and my grandfather were rock hard, like Christians. Like nothing would shake their faith. I mean, they both lived through World War II. My grandmother lost her father in World War II. He was part of the Navy. But like their parents were raised through the Great Depression, and this was on my mother's side, but also on my father's side, like his grandma went to Oklahoma on a wagon. Like we think we're so technologically far, and we are, but like we think that was hundreds of years ago.
Right.
And like in the early 1900s, people were still going to Oklahoma in wagons. Like, but those were the type of people, and they had to rely on something. You know, we all have to have circles, and in those circles we all have to have a core, and a core for them was their faith.
Yeah.
And so my grandparents always emitted that feeling of just calm faithfulness. And my parents were the same. And it got me curious of what this was. And I remember we were at my grandparents' house, and I asked my mom and dad, it was right before we went to bed, and I was like, I think I want to be saved.
Yeah.
And so I remember my little wee self and my two parents sitting down, kneeling and praying over me. And I decided to get baptized in October. And I gave my life to Christ. And since then, I've been a Christian, and I've given my life to the Lord. And it's definitely come with its trials. I mean, when we were still in the military for Leonard Wood, I wasn't really around it as much. But when we moved down to my hometown, Fairview, my dad became a pastor. And like that's like head dunk, you're in it now. Because like now you're a pastor's kid.
Yeah.
And like little me was like, oh, this is awesome. My dad's the pastor. And then like once I matured beyond like the next hour and a half of my life, and I started thinking like down the road, I'm like, this has a lot of responsibility because you're representing your church. Everyone knows you're the pastor's kid because it's a small farming community. So pretty much everyone and their mother knows who you are. And now you're also representing the faith because people look to you to be an example of Christianity, or at least what they believe Christianity is. And so it was definitely difficult. But it's also rewarding, if that makes sense.
What's been your biggest reward, you would say?
My biggest reward. I think the biggest reward is maturing and growing with my brothers from college. Yeah. So they're not my physical brothers and we share blood, but the bond that we have. And when I got to college, I felt very alone. I didn't know anybody. And came from this small town of like 300 to Springfield of like 150,000, which to me is huge.
Right.
Into a college of 30,000 kids, don't know anybody. And I run into these guys, and they became probably my best friends in college and ROTC, but one of them was also like a new growing Christian. And I got to watch his walk with Christ expand and lead him, or not lead him, but lead others to the faith as well. And just getting to watch him grow as a Christian and be there to have like the tough conversations with him. Because any new Christian and even current Christians, no matter how long you've been one, always have questions not only about faith, but what needs to be done in the world, and your spiritual health and what comes next. Because there's always that next challenge. And I remember one of them for mine was like, I asked my dad, I was like, I know this might be a silly question, but like, how do you know you are saved? Because I believe I'm saved. But how do you know? Like, is there a checkbox? Like how do you know?
You get like a little notification on the phone,
like
email,
you don't get a letter in the mail that says like, congratulations, you've been saved, you're going to heaven now. And my dad's like, well, it's never a bad question. Like, you should always be asking that as a Christian. The second you stop thinking, like, that might be an indicator something's wrong. You're backsliding.
It's one of those like, oh, like I made it, I'm good. Like,
and that's the issue is you don't want to think that like, oh, I'm good because I did it once. Like,
Yeah.
because Christ will give you the opportunity to give yourself over to him any time of your life, no matter who you are. But the issue with that free will that God gives us is you can rebuke him at any time too.
Oh yeah.
So someone can be saved, but just as easy or hard as it is for them to become saved, they can just easily throw that away and rebuke Christ.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of free will. You are given the choice to do what you want to do. And so I asked my dad, and I was like, what does this, how do you know? And he answered it very well. He's incredibly smart, including, biblically and scholarly. And his answer was, if you're asking yourself that, look upon your inner reflection. Like, do you truly have Christ in your heart? Do you repent daily? And do you have a relationship with the Lord? But as long as you're asking, am I truly saved? That probably means you're always seeking that closer relationship.
Yeah.
And that's what matters, is that relationship between you and the Lord. And it's hard to think about it in a degree, to talk to someone that you can't truly see. But the Lord is always chasing that relationship with you, and he wants to talk with you, if that makes sense, and you to talk to him. Because it's a father-son relationship, or father-daughter. And a lot of people think prayer has to be structured. You have to start with, dear Lord or dear Father, give equation, amen.
Yep.
And a conversation with the Lord doesn't have to be that, because the Lord's always with you. He knows what you're going to say.
Right.
Like, you're almost cheating yourself out of it. Like, I've literally had times where I've just been sitting in bed. I'm like, hey, it's me again.
Yep.
Like,
yep.
I know you know it's me, and
I'm
talking to you.
Yeah.
But he wants that personal relationship where you can just feel comfortable enough to go, Lord or Jesus, Father, whoever you want to call it, and you just talk with him like me and you were talking. And it's difficult at first because, like, as a kid, you don't really get that. You think the Lord is this guy you have to intro, body, conclusion, paragraph style for him to answer you or talk to you, and that's definitely not it. Because he wants to be comfortable enough with you where you can just talk to him regularly like any other person and just try to find out more about him through talking. Because his answers might not be words that you hear. It might be things that happen around you or feelings you get. And that voice in the back of your head, that subconscious, in my 100% believe is the Holy Ghost, like, speaking to us, though we don't know it. That's why you always get, like, maybe you've experienced it before, where you get, like, you feel like someone's telling you actual words not to do or what to do.
Yeah.
Or you get a feeling to, like, in your gut that you're not supposed to do this or you should go do this. And I 100% believe that that's the Lord talking to you. Because I've had many instances where I'm like, I need to listen. And usually when you listen to the little voice, like, a better equation is going to come out, even though you might not know the other side of it.
Yeah.
But
no, you bring that up, and because I think my next question was going to be like, so how do you, like, I've struggled with praying, struggled with faith, struggled with spirituality, basically my whole life,
right.
up until recently, and I was going to ask, like, how do you pray? Like, what's the method? What works? But I think you answered it beautifully, and then you brought up the feeling of the Holy Spirit, and we're going to get to this topic, and I think we've pretty well versed in it thus far, as Charlie Kirk and his message, and just the unfortunate, I don't even know what to call it other than murder.
Yes.
And again, feel absolutely terrible that just for how everything unfolded. Like, I feel terrible for his wife and his kids. Absolutely applaud JD Vance for his stance that he took. He's like, hey,
About
Erica's
unity?
going to be great. Like, the kids are here. Welcome. Like, just open arms, family, and, like, great, man. I'm going to do everything I can. I think that was beautiful. But I think that was probably one of those times where So I'm gonna ask you about your day that day, but I know for my day, I was driving back here to the house after work, and I remember I got like this pins and needles like tingling feeling on
Mm-hmm.
my way back because like I was driving and this car was coming in the opposing lane and basically went into the middle lane and came back out, and I was just like, for whatever reason, I was like, something was different about that.
Yeah.
And it was like something, and I don't know if it was like, I don't know how to explain it, but something about that moment was just like, open your eyes,
Mm-hmm.
like just be aware. And so I was like, all right, I don't just kind of let it go for a little bit. Came home, hung out, did whatever around the house, and changed my oil. And that's when I finished changing my oil, I was getting ready to go to a meeting. I showered and I opened my phone, and that's when I saw that Charlie Kirk had been shot. So of course I'm like Googling. I messaged you, and you and I have talked like that. The message didn't go through to
Yeah.
you and another mutual friend. And um, in part, now that I look at it, I'm thankful that that message didn't go through because I have asked you briefly, but I've never really sat down and had the conversation about where you were that day.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm thankful that now we have that opportunity. Like this is,
Yes.
I couldn't imagine a better place now because it's going to be, yeah. But I digress. Where were you when, like, what was your day like on September 10th?
So incredibly normal. I was sitting in my living room, about to play Hell Let Loose with a mutual friend as well, and I'm sitting there and I get a text on my phone, and it says, "Did you guys hear about Charlie Kirk?" I'm like, "What happened to Charlie Kirk? I mean, come on."
Huge deal. Great guy.
Yeah, great guy. But again, your mind doesn't immediately go there.
Right.
And so he's like, he got shot. I'm like, oh, this is sadly almost a daily occurrence. Like people get shot all the time. So I'm like, was it a pistol? Was it a rifle? Like, give me some detail. And my buddy's like, no, he got shot, like bad. And I'm like, okay. And then he drops the video to it, the one of the uncensored angles that shows right on the side of him. And I immediately click on it because I'm like, oh, this is curious. And I see him and he's talking. And then you see the round go into the neck. And I immediately knew that
Yeah.
that he died.
Yeah. I've seen.
A lot of my friends were like, "Oh, he's critically injured," and I'm like,
No.
his,
Not.
his artery was cut, and the way his hands go up, and I think maybe the bullet was lodged in his spine. That's why you don't see the exit wound in his hands, kind of. But again, I'm not here to theorize on what
Right.
happened, but I just watched it. I watched him die, and I'm like, "Oh my god!" And I go to my roommate and I go, "Dude, did you just see the Charlie Kirk video?" Because this happened like 40 minutes ago, and he goes, "Yeah, I just saw it." I'm like, holy crap! Like Charlie Kirk just died. 4K, every angle imaginable, in front of his wife and children, and I felt sick. I felt just like I've seen blood and death.
Right.
Raised up on a farm, I've hunted, I've killed animals, butchered, processed. Like I've seen a lot of death, and I've even seen, unfortunately, the human side of death as well. And to watch that video, it just felt gross.
Yeah.
And I remember I felt angry because I immediately, like I do this every night. It's probably not great for my health, and I think a lot of Americans shouldn't do this. Is I just doom scroll for a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Um,
I feel like that's the common.
it's a common theme of our
pre-beverage issue.
generation,
Yeah.
and I think it's also one of the worst normalcies of our generation.
Absolutely.
Um, Including because we talked about childhood. Like when I look at me as a kid, like my parents were like, I thought they were strict for no reason, but like had a point. Like 9:30, like going to bed, no electronics, shower, brush your teeth, hop in bed. Life was great, and then electronics came into the world and it ruined it. But I remember doom scrolling, and I mean, sad to say, he hasn't even been dead for 12 hours,
Right.
and we're having celebratory videos over a man's assassination, like brutal murder in front of people. And I was just appalled. And like I went into work the next day. I think you were at an appointment at the time, But I just remember like the mood of the morning shift that I was part of was just dead. Like
Yeah.
knife's edge type feel. And I just remember on that day at that time watching that video, I was like, this is the breaking point.
Yeah.
Because the fatigue has been building of like what we're just generally accepting as normal
Yeah.
and what we're allowing to happen without repercussions. And all within the week, we had that Minnesota shooting. We had on the same day as Charlie Kirk, the Colorado shooting, which thankfully, I mean, it's not great, but thankfully only 2 were wounded and no one was killed.
Right.
And I think some people were taking that the wrong way, that it wasn't getting enough coverage at the time. People were like, well, I'm pissed off that Charlie Kirk is all over the TV, but no one cares about Colorado. I'm like, there's a difference in precedence,
Yeah.
which is wrong to say. It's horrible that someone thought, I'm going to go shoot at America's most precious resource, the next generation. It's horrible that someone decided that that was a normal thing for him to go do. But the difference is one, it wasn't caught on camera. It wasn't publicized on live television in front of a whole campus. And then it also didn't result in a death of a major political figure.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what America tries to follow trendly, is anything that's publicized, has video coverage, or involves someone on a high level of political precedence is going to be mobilized. But I just remember seeing all that happening in 1 week. I just felt like there has to be a shift because the tower is getting pushed one way.
Right. And I think a crazy aspect of it is like, even now, like I know some younger people aren't going to remember the impact of 9/11. Like I remember I was, what, 9, 10 years old when it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And like I can remember going to school that day and like my just feelings of like, I don't understand, like something happened and I know it's sad and devastating and all of these other things. And like later on I learned more about it and like what had happened and like the loss of life and all of these things. And like um so like going into September 11th is generally, I mean, for anybody over the age of I'll say 30, is kind of at times a big deal, especially for military veterans, what have you, or like just anybody from, like, whether you know firefighters, you know anybody from New York. At some point, somebody's got a piece of that pie, if you will, and it's just like it at times is a very difficult day.
Right.
And then for it to be the day before is when Charlie Kirk passes, and I don't want to say it's robbing the memory of 9/11 by any means, but it's just like two
major
24
events.
years apart, like two major sad events that like kind of, I don't want to say shape the face of the nation, but it, like, let's be honest, it kind of does.
Well, including right now, I think one of the reasons why Charlie Kirk's death has had so much sway over the nation is he was a good man and a good father that was a good Christian, at least by my views, that was always open to debate at a moderate level and was willing to challenge ideas and open it up to discussion. He never pursued any violent natures. He never did anything based on race or gender or ideology. He would ask you questions. He would allow you to ask questions back, and he just talked to people. And the thing is he went to places where he knew he wasn't welcome, but he went that to show that we can have different opinions and still be Americans.
Yeah.
And there was a huge supporter group that supported this guy because they saw him as someone to look up to. And then they watched that violently get ripped away from
Just
natural life. They watch someone. A lot of people are desensitized because we see a lot of things through phones. Well, you get a whole company set up videotaping them. You get a whole campus watching them, and you watch someone die real time in front of you. It changes things. And I think a lot of people saw that and were like, "This is serious. This isn't a live leak video. Someone actually just died for just speaking."
Yeah. And I'll say that's probably the most devastating part of it all because there was never. It's not like Charlie Kirk's out leading rallies. He's not
Right.
out inciting like crazy changes within the world. It's like, hey, sit down and have a conversation. If you think I'm wrong, tell me why you think I'm wrong. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
tell you why I think I'm right, and we can go back and forth. And it's there may be a little bit of satire, like some
Yeah.
sarcasm, like what just like any point that you're going to make. If you feel strongly enough in it, you're going to make some kind of remark where it could be misconstrued as offensive. And I think that's definitely been the rhetoric a lot lately, where you just hear like, oh, he was this racist guy, or he didn't care about whatever, and it's just like I challenge anybody with that belief to look at the 30 seconds prior or the 30 seconds after,
Video you're talking
yeah,
about.
whatever you're talking about or whatever. And if we're gonna vilify him over like tweets or something, it's like, dude, let's look at your feed. Like
Yeah.
if we're gonna sit here and
Mm-hmm.
hold him to the knife, like again,
Well,
you're allowed to change your beliefs and your feelings and whatever else, but like don't vilify the man.
there
And
was
like
a great point that you're talking about, is like watching that 30 before and after. And a lot of people love to put out there right now that you shouldn't feel sad for him because he said empathy is a bad thing. Empathy is a made up term. But what they don't see is right after he said that, he says, I believe in compassion and sympathy, because those are more realistic goals to set, because you're there to comfort someone. When empathy is you're trying to understand that.
yeah,
And that's just not something that we as humans can do. Like, you're going to go through a feeling. I can't feel that same feeling for you. You know what I mean?
right,
And that's what he was trying to get that point across, is that we as humans are social creatures. We understand when we're going through hard times. I can be there to support you. I can be there to help you. But for me to take that exact same feeling and feel it myself to try to understand you, we're not going anywhere.
no,
I'm not going to help you. If you're sad and depressed about something, maybe one, that doesn't affect me. But two, if I try to sit there and be depressed with you, who are we helping?
right.
Because I'm just going to drag myself down with you. And now that we have two depressed people, and now we're going to go to someone else to leech off of until we have this big group of depressed people, and we call it college. And so basically, he was very good at articulating points. And the issue is when you're trying to articulate points as a devil advocate or vouch for it as a, on your side, you're going to say something that sounds rude or misconstrued, and then people are going to cherry pick that audio and place it over whatever they want. That's the beauty and curse of technology. I can take whatever you say and put it on whatever video I want and have AI mimic your mouth movements. And you see with old wartime footages now, like, we're able to take old wartime pictures and make them into motion
Yeah.
and put color in it, make mouths move and voices attached to it.
When I've seen it, even with it's like the pictures of old people, and it's like, oh, back in my day in
Yeah.
2025, this is what we were doing in the army, and it's like, don't get me
Yep.
wrong, it's funny. I
But
love it. I
it's
love the
scary.
yeah, it's absolutely scary. Like I love the capability and the things that AI is able to do, but it's also absolutely terrifying. And it's like, where's the balance there? And that's I don't know.
And so that's one of the reasons I think, kind of looping it back around, is like why Charlie Kirk's death is so empowering for people and so motivational. It was something that was horribly, horribly done, and 10 times the effect thanks to the social media and live television. But it impacted so many people because they saw that he was more than just a man that spoke at college. He had two kids, he had a wife, he was strong in his faith, and he helped all these different communities, and he had a hand in all these communities. And he was just a naturally good man. And I think a lot of people saw the horrible injustice that it was for him to just be murdered like that.
Yeah.
And I think it just touched so many people's lives that, like, why was this done? Why? The motive, and even now that they've even caught the killer, still the motive isn't there. Like, what was your reasoning to do this?
Yeah.
And then to see certain people celebrate that and treat this as a good thing, that I think that mobilized the nation, that there are some ideologies out there that are, in bold terms, destroying American values.
Yeah.
He was killed over his First Amendment rights. Granted, he was not killed over his Second Amendment right, which people are throwing at his face. That he was killed for what he vouched for, which was it's acceptable to have gun deaths every year, to have our guns and our Second Amendment rights. And people are like, oh, he died over the Second Amendment. How?
That again, for
he
clarification, like Second Amendment is to overthrow a tyrannical government.
correct.
It's so like, and he made the points beautifully as far as like, it's not for hunting, it's not for protection. While those things are awesome, again, it's literally to protect yourself from the government. And I'll say, my first thought, like again, no context. First thing I was like, the government did it, and I was like, I don't know how or what, and like, you can call me a conspiracy theorist. I'll take credit where credit is due. But I very much was just like, all right, let me find out more. But again, I don't think people understand, because he makes beautiful points, especially when it comes to weapons. Um, and it's just kind of sad to me that you have this such a following. It's such a powerful voice. In again, we're relatively. He's a year and 2 months younger than me.
Wow.
So like, for me to sit there and like it put a lot of things in perspective for me, because it was like, what if I had died? Like, and there was at one point where it was just like, you know what, I'm not gonna have that impact on the world. Like, there's no way. Like, I would much rather have been the random dude in the background that had passed rather than him. Like, he's got the capabilities to do such beautiful things, and it's kind of just sad. Like, and I guess that was my feeling, was it was very sad. And I've talked to you and a few others about it, but I think this is probably how people felt when JFK died. And I'm sure you're gonna have the people that were like, "Oh, JFK died," and like, again, it's a political figure. People didn't like him. People did like him, and you got some in the middle that kind of don't really care. And I think for those of us that did like him, we could identify with the fact that he was a father, that he had a wife, that he worked at something he was passionate about. And I think that's honestly, those three things right there are the American dream.
Well, it's funny you say that with JFK, and I think another figurehead that we forget about just because we're so detached from that time is you look at Abraham Lincoln, right? He just finished the Civil War, America's bloodiest conflict ever that's affected fathers, sons on both sides of the conflict. He just finished the war. The Emancipation Proclamation has gone through. Slavery has been eradicated. A lot of monumental changes have just happened in the U.S. And shortly after this happens, he's murdered, attempted. He was still alive for quite a while, by John Wilkes Booth in a theater. Really? He was alive for a little bit. The bullet in his brain, again, black powder weaponry is not incredibly powerful for smaller pistols. And the bullet was lodged in his brain, and he was alive for quite some time. And a lot of modern doctors believe all the digging around in his head to try to remove the bullet is what killed him. Same with Stonewall Jackson. If you know anything about Thomas Jackson, when he was shot, I want to say Chickamauga, but I might be wrong on that battle.
Not privy to it. So
right before the big battle of Gettysburg, they believe that they used some older Southern techniques. They tried to bleed him, and they applied medicine to help slow his heart rate. And they believe some of those more older medical practices is what accelerated his death, because his heart wasn't strong enough to keep the blood flowing.
Right.
Because they tried to slow it, to try to ease his pain, and then by bleeding him to try to get the bad blood out and try to find where this bullet was that they thought might have been affected with lead poisoning, all sorts of stuff. But they do believe Lincoln was killed just trying to find that bullet in his brain. It's just what ended up giving him too much trauma.
I had no idea about that.
But that's another great example of like, it always happens, ironically, when strong men stand up for something, there will always be someone there to try to make them fall.
Yeah.
And like you said, tyrannical governments with the Second Amendment is, I don't think people, again, remember why that was put there. You had the American colonies that had the British Empire, the strongest empire at the time, holding the axe to the American colonies. You got to pay this money because you got to reimburse us for fighting the French Indian War, which we won for you. That was the idea. Britain was in a massive amount of debt due to the coalition wars against Napoleon. They had to pay off their army debts from the French Indian War. They had to pay off what war debt they had accumulated from fighting Napoleon for so long, and then just all their other expenses from global empires. And then America was like, the colonies were like, we think this is unjust, and Britain's like, great, I'm going to send a portion of my navy and a portion of my army, and we're going to make sure you do what we want you to do.
Yeah.
That's why in our Constitution it says no one lawful, like you cannot house soldiers against your will.
Yep.
Because it was just typical, because British soldiers would be like, hey, it's kind of getting dark. We're going to board up in here and you got to feed us and take care of us.
Yeah, I'm sure there was no issues with that.
And there was totally no issues for that. And so in like current perspective, I want people to think of a good idea that would maybe spark some interesting conversation is during the LA riots and the Marine Corps was deployed. That would be like a squad of Marines coming up to your apartment going, hey, it's getting a little dark. We're going to sleep inside tonight. And like, you don't get it. You don't get the choice at this point anymore. It's decreed by the empire of the Marine Corps that we get to stay here.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point. That's what drove the need for the Second Amendment, to not only protect your home and your land, but for the Constitution, your God-given rights. And that was the reason why the Second Amendment is such a powerful part. And it is sad that it is abused constantly. But it's something that millions of Americans have died for us to keep.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important thing for us to realize, is those 10 amendments that were originally given to us by our forefathers that have been the bulwark of our civilization.
Good old Bill of Rights.
Millions have died to give us those rights.
Absolutely.
And I think people overlook that because you said it earlier, that American privilege. I think sometimes we're a little bit overprivileged, and we forget that we stand on a mountain of sacrifice to have that privilege today.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people, man, I'm gonna bring up the topic for a second, but we'll end up taking a break for a minute. But I think it definitely, you can say what you will about the founding fathers. You can say what you will about anybody. I don't believe that. I guess to go back, it's like you can say they were racist or not. That's probably going to be the next topic that two random white dudes get in on the internet. Is race. But again, I think if you want to make things racist, you can make things racist. If you don't, by all means, like, appreciate the subject matter.
I think it'd be really unique, including to see, because there's a bit of an age difference between us.
Yeah.
Of just about a decade, a little bit under, but
somewhere in the ballpark.
The differences of America that we grew up in, because my childhood and what my visions of what the future America is going to be have been completely skewed, and I'm sure they are somewhat similar to yours, or maybe as younger you weren't a huge fan of.
Which I don't even think I talked about the future.
Yeah, neither have I. Like, I haven't really thought about that far.
Yeah, like, I mean, I guess we're getting right back into the thick of it. But no, as far as like my perspective of it, like, I remember grew up in Arizona, born in Iowa, grew up in Arizona, raised by my mom and my stepdad, who I didn't know was my stepdad until my parents divorced. Like, I was like, it's my dad. He's been there since I was, before I could walk, before I don't know if before I could walk, but like, since I remembered, we had lived in Arizona and he was dad forever. So like, that's ingrained in me to this day. Like, I call him dad. So if ever I speak about my dad, like, he's the only person I think of. He's the only person that has ever held that role in my life. And then let's see, I went to school in, I don't know, just mixed neighborhoods, like Arizona's very much a mixing pot as far as like white people, Hispanics, and black people, Asian, like just all of it. You get a lot of people from California. So like, I guess I'd never really, it's one of those things, like, you learn about slavery, you learn racism exists and things like that. And like, later I learned my grandparents, albeit, were probably a little more racist than they should have been. But I mean, again, it never affected us. We weren't raised like that. We weren't anything of the sort. So like you learn about different things like the LA riots in the 90s or like the civil rights movement. And it's crazy. Like to me, it's crazy to fathom that you can separate, like at one point as society we could separate people based on the color. It was just a
Yeah.
wild concept, and it's just like, oh. And then like you introduce that topic in school and it's just like, well, does it still exist now? And like I think that's where a lot of racism feeds. um, so anyways, grew up in pretty diverse communities. Moved to, like, we didn't move too much, but there was like new schools that were opening closer and closer to where we lived, so like I'd shifted around from school to school, but most of my childhood maintained the same people, if you will, from kindergarten to probably seventh grade. And then we moved into an apartment in seventh grade. And, I think that was probably, that was when I started struggling in school. I'll go back to it. Like I'm a terrible reader. Like I can read things, but if I'm trying to retain the information, I have to read it anywhere from like 2 to like 7 times. So like I'm not a strong reader. I never have been. Like I learned to fluently read in 4th grade, and it was honestly it was embarrassing. Like I remember like sitting under this table crying, looking at a book, and I was just like, I don't know what this like. It doesn't make sense. It's like I can say the words, but no idea what I'm talking about. I've always enjoyed math. Like I said, in 7th grade, I started to teeter totter in school, but like I'm a really good test taker, terrible at doing homework, and terrible at doing like big, like takes time to do projects, right? So like I remember we had to do this, I guess, so 7th grade, I'm going to digress a little bit. I was doing my homework, but I wouldn't turn it in. And my backpack was just so unorganized. Like I could have my homework and it'd be like, all right, you have 2 minutes at the beginning of class, pull out your math homework, and I'd just lose it. Like it's not, wherever it is, it's like it might as well have been in Mary Poppins' bag, because like that, it was not mine. Um, and then going on, we moved schools, got my grades up, and started turning in my homework again. Tested out into like some like basically algebra, which it wasn't algebra. It wasn't like the first step into freshman year. So I was taking like algebra and like some other class, and I basically took 2 math classes up until my senior year. I think I might have stopped out my junior year, because my junior year I took like algebra 2, which is like most seniors in Arizona are taking algebra 2 at the time. And then so I moved on to, no, it was pre-calc my junior year, and then I just dropped out of calculus my senior year. But yeah, I remember freshman year we had this we had to do something about mapping or graphing functions and like correlating it to space and like some weird, and I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
The high school I went to, my first half of my freshman year, it was like you did the first semester of PE outdoors, and the second semester was indoors.
Okay.
And there was a couple of different classes where they were like the same principality but different in execution. And so when I moved, the school that I moved to for PE was, or for I think it was Gym PE, whatever we're calling it. It was like 3 weeks of playing whatever sports and just messing around, and then you'd have like a week of class period. And I remember like taking my finals, filling out, bubbling in whatever sheet, and my teacher goes, "Man, did you just do this bad? Like, did you not pay attention?" And I was like, "Look, man, I just like came in and jumped in halfway through the year. I don't know what's going on." I was like, "Most of this stuff is brand new to me." And he's like, "You're fine." And so like I don't know if he just marked it as a 70 or what, but I passed that class. And that was basically the same thing that happened with my math class. It was like, this project, like you've known about it. And I was like, I knew a little bit about it. Like I know it's been something that you talked about throughout the whole year. I missed half the year. And the past 2 months I was supposed to be working on it. I don't ask questions. I just do what I'm supposed to do. And I definitely should have failed that, but I managed to write enough on whatever paper and just like turned it in. And she was like, not great, but like, we'll give you a D or whatever it was. So I didn't fail that class. And I think that basically kind of set the tone for high school, where it was just like, I did good enough on tests. I did good enough, especially multiple choice. Like I'm I don't know, the process of elimination there is like you have two 50-50 questions where it's just like one of those is the answer, and if you can find those, it's just like you're more than likely going to pass if you have baseline knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So multiple choice questions, I love them. Like I said earlier, I was in fourth grade for 9/11, and I remember walking into school that day, and man, I'll never forget this dude, George. I'm probably find him on Facebook and like shout him out. Great dude. I've always liked him, and it was weird because we were in elementary school together at certain times. We were in like high school, and like we'd see each other in passing. And like Phoenix is a rather large place, and like
Yeah.
so if you meet people from Phoenix and they're like, "Oh, I'm from Phoenix," it's just like you look back and forth and like, "What part?" And like there's so many different places, and to just have weird passings.
That's how my buddies were in college from St. Louis.
Yeah.
I'm from St. Louis. Oh, we're in St. Louis.
Yeah.
You asked me where I was from. I'm from Fairview.
Yeah.
No one knows where it is.
Because you get like the mini suburbs just right outside the city, and like again, Phoenix is small. The Phoenix area is just massive because you have Peoria, Glendale, Mesa, Chandler, and like just it only gets further and further, and I'm sure it's probably grown exponentially since I've been there. But I remember he was walking in with his handheld radio, and he was like, "The towers fell" or something of the sort, and I was like, "No idea what this means." Like at this point in my mind, like the world is like if I had to map out the world, I would be in the center of it, and it would just be one solid landmass and just some stuff around me, and like I was off in the distance, and just couldn't have cared less about most things in the world. Like
Yeah.
even now, I'm still very much that way, where it's just like if it doesn't immediately impact me, I probably don't know too much about it. So yeah, 9/11. My parents both worked for Charles Schwab at the time. Uh, my dad's since retired. My mom's working elsewhere now, but they involved in the World Trade Center, or like in the trade. I don't know, however you word that. They're involved in that, so like it definitely affected their jobs
Yeah.
just tremendously, and it was like sad. And I remember we used to have this like grayish tan furniture, and I remember just sitting in the chair watching it over and over, like the tower or the planes flying into the towers, and I was like, this is boring. And like I just remember my dad being like, "This is history, man." Like this, and I was like, "I don't get it."
Yeah.
And like it didn't. Again, it didn't. It wasn't until probably years later, you start seeing, you get a little older, have the knowledge that the U.S. is going to war, and it's for whatever reasons at the time. Um, but yeah, that impacted me. I grew up. I think that was the year I started going to Arizona Cardinals football games,
Hmm.
and so I actually got suspended because so we're going to school, and we went to the barber, and it was like my first Cardinals game, and so like how you can get like designs in your
Yeah.
So had the barber put cards on the back of my head, and then like take a yellow or not yellow, a red highlighter or whatever, and basically it just said cards on the back of my head in red, and they called my parents and suspended me for like a gang related thing in like fourth grade, dude. Like, right? I was like, that's crazy. Like
That is
looking
crazy.
back, that's even more crazy now to me. That was what had happened. But no, I remember we used to go to the games all the time as kids. Like up until I graduated high school, I'd pretty much been to every home Arizona Cardinals game.
Wow.
And so like
Pretty cool.
the summer training camps. Like I remember just meeting certain players. Like I met Larry Fitzgerald in Target when he was a rookie. Like just stand up dude. Like the class act that he presents himself to be on TV. Like the same thing when he was like 23 years old, and I was all of 4 foot tall, and I was like, hey, how's it going? So that was it. There's a lot of neat experiences I had from that. And then I guess fast forwarding to the mid 2000s. I don't know. My parents split up. That was a tumultuous time. Especially, it didn't feel chaotic then, but like being an adult and like looking back at like the things that have shaped me, that's definitely been a wild time. It's like kind of figuring out what happened in my parents' divorce. Just for me specifically, like I can pretty much tell you exactly what happened when they got divorced, but just the long term effects of like just things that I carry with me that I probably shouldn't have had to, or like things that I thought I owed my parents back in the day, where it's like again no fault of theirs. Like they're doing the best they can with their lives. So I again love my parents. Don't talk to them nearly as much as I ought to, but again, still love them to death. Um, yeah, I graduated high school with like I think a 2.18 GPA or some just atrocious thing. It might have been less than that. I'll be honest. Um, but the standardized testing that you have to do for Arizona, if you pass them, you're automatically accepted into any state school. And then if you get exceeds in all of them, um, you can get a scholarship from the state. And I exceeded in two, and you'll probably never guess this, but I didn't exceed in reading. So math and writing crushed it. And then reading, it was just like you read all right, dude. I was just like,
Thanks for trying out.
I'm satisfied. So I went to Northern Arizona University for a little bit, and I just was over school. I was studying psychology, and I was like, this is not it. Like, I would much rather be out doing poor life choices with friends and whatever else. Like, if there was something to do, I was finding it, and what it was not 8 a.m. math class.
Yeah,
Which that's very much
I've been there before. Yeah.
Don't have 8 a.m. classes is very much yeah, that makes sense. I don't know how it was for ROTC for you, but I'm sure there were some early mornings where it was like, can we not do this today?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, there were some days when you had that 1 a.m. show up for a 12-mile ruck, and you had a test at like 8:30, and you're like, why am I here? Including as like an MS1, you're not required to like show up to these things because you're not contracted, but it looks good to show up because like it shows you're putting in effort.
Yeah.
And there were some times where I'm like, I could so skip this. I so don't have to be here.
So I'm sure I've asked this before, and I'll probably ask it a million more times. Actually, probably not. But I guess the ranks, if you will, in ROTC, you have MS1 through MS4 or 5 or.
So MS1 through 4 is like your standard. MS5s are like you have to stay an extra year. So like those are like your
fifth year senior.
Yeah, fifth year seniors. But MS1 through 4, it's pretty simple. MS1s and 2s, you're trying out the program. You're seeing if this is for you. MS2s, you're usually taking a little bit more serious because like you're still showing up to the labs and stuff. Our program did really good at getting you involved. We had a very wonderful supply technician who was very involved with cadets, and he always believed that get all this stuff up front, because some universities like trickle feed you things, like you get more gear the longer you stay, so you can take part in more events.
Yeah.
If you showed interest as an MS1, he'd give you all the gear to go to the field and be like, go play soldier, see if this is for you. You weren't required to go to FTXs, you didn't have to go to the labs, you didn't have to go to PT, but you could just to see what it was like.
Yeah.
I was a 3-year scholarship winner. I was blessed. I tried out for the national 4-year, got turned down, but was immediately given the option to do a 3-year, and I took it. And those are another one of those God feels, that like the Holy Spirit kind of thing. Like I didn't get the 4-year. I'm like, all right, that's it. I'm going enlisted. And like the next day, I got a call. They're like, hey, this is so and so from Missouri State University, and we want to like say, congratulations on attempting the 4-year. You took a big step. We know you didn't get it, but I'm wanting to offer you a 3-year. And like I was like, sign me up. That's awesome. I want to go to college.
Yeah.
Which I really didn't want to at the time.
Shocking.
But it was a good thing I did. And as a scholarship winner, whenever your scholarship starts, you contract. And that's when you go, you sign your oath, you start getting your stipend. It's like $420 a month. It's not a ton, but it's some money.
I mean, as a college kid,
$420 was enough to get me, through a month.
Some chicken nuggets and I don't know.
Yeah, sweet tea right there, man. Like, whoa, that's my biggest enemy right there is sweet tea. Oh. Yeah. But I digress. MS3s is where things get serious for you because you're going to go to camp that summer. And so as an MS3, you're usually given a platoon leadership role or a squad leader role, first sergeant, blah, blah, blah.
So is the manning, like, I'm sure you're familiar with MTOs and like how many people should be in places.
So we try.
I was going to say, is the manning there for you to be like as a junior, you're able to like, hey, I've got 16 dudes below me holistically, or like is it?
So yes and no. So some programs are huge where they'll actually have mini companies.
Okay.
So like one of my buddies that I went to camp with from Penn State, he's like, yeah, we have like 3 companies worth of people. I'm like, that's crazy. Like we're lucky to have 70. And if half of those people show up, we're on a good day because everyone has different schedules, football practices, band practice, whatever. But we usually had like 50 to 80 people that we usually had on our roster. If they were all there, depended. But you would usually have at least a couple squads. We tried to make a third platoon a couple times, but our cadre got really tired of hearing, third platoon, one present, 24 unaccounted for. Like, all right, we're just going to stick to 2. So you stick to 2 platoons, and this is back when the whole PRT was a thing. You'd get your morning formation. I was first sergeant for a little bit my junior year. We tried to break it up every couple months, and so you'd go through the whole, song and dance. First sergeant post here. How many people do we have accounted for? All right, file in, get all your people spread out. PRT, hoorah, all that fun stuff. But you would have enough people to do usual mannings of as close as you're going to get for a college campus. Yeah. Out in the field, it was a bit better because you usually had pretty good attendance for the field. A lot of people actually were pretty excited to do it.
Yeah. I mean, going to play Army, it's like I got to throw on the uniform and run out in the woods. It's not like I got to throw on my PTs and run for
5 miles. Yeah. Singing silly cadences through the college campus and everyone yell at you through their windows because they wanted you to shut up to let them sleep. And I get that. We had a mobile app that you could put information on that anyone could see in the local area.
Blackboard style kind of thing.
Kind of, but it was just you could post things out on this website and anyone could see it and reply to it. And we'd always get the let the glue eaters rest. They're trying their best and stuff like that. And there'd always be videos on Snapchat circling around of our formations running down streets. And I was like, yeah, that's us. And
was it first yeah, that's us?
Yeah. So at first it was yeah, that's us. We're doing PT, and then I'm like, nah, I get that. Yeah, I get that.
I think the military has a way of making cool things not cool
really fast. Yeah, and that was definitely one of them. It was cool because doing an ACFT on the soccer field, right on the middle of campus is where this stadium is. And you're doing laps around the track and sprinting and doing weights and lifting, and everyone would always stop and watch. That was kind of cool because I'm like, hey, these people might, you might plant that seed for them to try out.
Yeah.
And that's why on Thursdays was uniform day. You always wear your uniform on Thursdays as a recruiting tool. Now, if that worked or not, I don't know. Now, it was always really funny when the Navy-Army game would come up and everyone would trash the Army and then we'd beat the socks off the Navy, or then we'd lose horribly to the Navy. It depended on the year.
What was their record while you were in college?
I think when I was in, it was tied because it has a history of.
Oh yeah, it's
back and forth. It's never we're a 4-year reigning champ. It's
it's every 2 years it swaps.
It swaps. I think it was 2 and 2. Yeah. Well, I think my junior year, it was a crazy lead the Army had over the Navy. It was 40 to 7 or something like that. It was crazy. And I think last year we lost really bad.
I don't remember.
I can't remember.
There's so much going on with just my personal life last year where it's I have no idea.
Yeah, same kind of. Yeah, I was right there with you. But getting back to the manning things, there's MS4s. That's your senior's about to commission, so they all take staff duties.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, it is.
Because I assume you're just
you're
you're
so involved in ROTC that you can't get away from it.
Well, I feel it's one of those things where it's just you're involved in doing things for the program to give to the next year.
To the next years, exactly.
Yeah, so
and how the year priors did affects you.
Yeah.
So I'll say it because depending on who's listening, they'll all feel the same thing or they'll all laugh. Everyone always says it's the MS4s. The MS4s suck. Every year. It doesn't matter who it is. It could be Audie Murphy and whoever else you want to put up there on the golden tier of military personnel leading your MS4 year and be these are the worst MS4s.
Audie Murphy and Chesty Puller, and it's it's their fault.
Yeah, it's their fault. These are the worst guys ever. And and Pat Tillman could be the CEO, of Selfless Service. And people are these guys just suck. And somewhat that's true because at the beginning of the semester, it's always, we're going to go out on everything. We're going to do our hardest. We're going to try the best. And by week 3, people are yeah, can we finish up the staff meeting? I have way better things to do than sit here and bicker about how we want to get friggin' MREs to the field.
Yeah.
Or how are we going to remind the MS1s to remember to fill their canteens? This the stupid things. And then you'd have people who just didn't care about the job. So we had a guy write up a draw. We were going to get flown by Blackhawks that would land on campus and take us to Fort Crowder. Really cool thing to do, by the
That
way.
sounds awesome.
It was such a flex because the Missouri National Guard had an air unit right next to the college campus, and so our BC would always try to get us air travel because like that's just the type of duty it was, and it was so sick to actually like fly into like our FTXs. And it was really cool because there'd always be videos. Like we had people come out of their classrooms. They're like, "Oh my god, the building was shaking," because we have 2 Blackhawks landing right by our rappel tower. And we had a guy write up a draw, and he was like high risk because someone could trip and have their head shaved off by a helicopter blade.
Brother.
And this is like, and that's our
That's the most Army thing I've ever.
And like
just some dude that doesn't. What could happen? The dude could lose his head. Like what? No, man.
And so, and literally, our actual master sergeant's like, "Oh my god!" And I'm like, we're all just sitting there because this is an actual brief that's supposed to be our final product that they've had weeks to prepare.
Like it's going to somebody that's actually in the military that actually has to
process this, because this is what's going to get us our air travel. And it was so bad that our actual S3, he was trying to work some jobs to pay off his college, and we all have struggles in ROTC. And I know it's such like a joke to make fun of ROTC kids because it's not that hard. And I agree wholeheartedly. Like there are some pretty bad products that skate by the skin of their teeth.
I think that's just anywhere though.
And that is anywhere. That's any job. Look at any job and you'll find those people.
Yeah.
But what's hard is they always say you're a student first, soldier second. But the quick realization is there's those select few that keep the program running. And to keep the program running, you're committed to ROTC first, which is really hard to balance a good school year. And I had an issue with that because I was president of our color guard. I was involved a lot in our Scabbard and Blade, which is like student organization fundraising. And like it just consumes you. And you're always busy and always doing meetings. And it can take a toll to like, I gotta balance my student life and my quotes, like soldier life.
Yeah.
But our S3 was always at work, and he arrives to FTX, and he's like, "Hey, everything turned in right." And they're like, "You got to write the draw on the way down to Fort Crowder." And he's like, "What?" He's like, "So we were admin, so we went down a day early." And they're like, "Yeah, so while you're in the truck, like you have to type up the draw and email it to Lieutenant Colonel for him to sign off on it so we can get air travel tomorrow for the MS 3s and below." And we're like, "All right, let's send it," because our student command sergeant major just didn't care.
Yeah. So did you have like Humvees and stuff that you would take on, or was like
so GSAs is? I mean, we called them GSAs because some of them were, but a lot of them were just Missouri State vans that had ROTC logos on them.
I mean, you're going to call them what you know them by, and so like anybody from
the military they're given government plates because they're university-owned vehicles, and GSAs is how they turned around.
Well, because I'm sure that at some point there's funding changing hands somewhere where it's just like we're not paying for that because it's your program.
Exactly.
The government's like, all right.
And so we would have GSAs take the main body down, but since we got air travel, GSAs were only used to bring down the MS4s and the cadre setting up. And then we all rode GSAs back. We didn't have enough. It's very rare to get air travel down and back.
Yeah.
So we just took the blessing to go down. So it was actually 2-round flights because they would pick up the first chalk of students, drop them off, go back for the second chalk of students, bring them back.
Yeah.
So what they did for us, like shout out to the Mo Guard for like doing that. It gives the officers flight hours who need it, and it gives them an opportunity to show off and get people interested in aviation.
And again, like I said it earlier, like nobody's mad about seeing military aircraft.
Exactly.
Like, it's just like, oh,
like
you hear whether it's jets taking off or helicopter. Like I've never been in a situation where I was just
everyone
like,
will stop what they're doing and see, like look at it. Like you can see it every day. I was at Camp Humphreys by an airfield that had hundreds of helicopters, and every time I was like, oh
yeah, it's like when I think of it as like I've shot machine guns, rockets, all sorts of things, and it's like never once have I been mad that I had a helicopter. Never once have I been mad. Like never once have we been driving down and you see the helicopter just coming down the road, just right off the horizon, and you're just like this. Like anytime, it's like this is gonna be a good day.
Yeah.
It's just like they're out there doing who knows what, not supporting us by any stretch of the imagination, just getting flight hours and like just looking like superstars and like giving us the thumbs up from the cockpit. And you're just like, yeah, they saw me. So
and it gives you that feeling of like, oh, this is like a really cool organization. And So that's what was unique about the program is like it gave you a sense of responsibility, and there was a student structure leadership, and it gave you a taste of what like Army life's going to be like. So the very roundabout way of answering your question is, yeah, we did have student leadership, and it was broken up by year group. MS5s usually just supported as extra cadre or fill-in instructors or op4. They were floaters. They were like warrant officers. They didn't show up to anything unless they were like asked.
Yeah.
PT, not a thing.
So
Like class,
of the MS4s that were in your group, if you will,
yeah.
how many of them actually went on to commission? Or is there like, is it
Out of
I guess
MS4s, actually, we had a lot of MS5s. So one of my friends is going chaplain corps, which requires seminary. A couple of my buddies were doing med services, biochem, stuff like that, mathematics, and all had to go. One of the guys that actually came to our pool for a while, Retta, he was one of my boys, and he should be in Ranger School right now. But out of
bless that man's soul.
yeah, bless his heart right now. So out of my commissioning source, as far as my knowledge is, there's a couple MS5s, but as far as I'm concerned, all of us commission and are active duty or National Guard officers.
Okay. Now, is that common or is it?
For ROTC programs, that's a lot more common for everyone to commission. It's these like military academies where a lot of people like go for the experience but go civilian.
Yeah.
But usually when you sign the contract, you're giving up a minimum amount of service years, including for like scholarship winners like me, the 3 to 4 year scholarship winners, or even 2. You are going to do a mandatory service because you're going to pay off your scholarship.
Right.
Uncle Sam going to get his money back.
Because I guess that's the one thing that never made sense to me is like you can go to the military academy. I assume West Point's the exception.
No, even West Point gives you the option. So even West Point is optional to
you can
enter service.
That's wild.
You can definitely go through West Point, and you can not pick up an active duty commission.
I didn't know that.
You can go, from what I've understood, you can go guard, or you can just go civilian. You can the difference is like people who join the military out of West Point are usually getting like a scholarship, or they're invited to go.
Yeah.
Like a buddy from my high school, he was selected to go to West Point. He tried the application. He actually got his acceptance letter because you have to get a politician to sign your waiver. Yeah. He actually got his done by Mike Pence.
Oh, really?
While he was in office at the time, which I thought that was pretty cool. He got Mike Pence to sign his.
Because I guess, does it have to be a state representative?
It has to be a representative of some sort.
So it doesn't matter if it's state or federal?
Exactly.
Okay, because I know there's like a certain number, if I'm not mistaken, of like how many a politician can sign. So it's like
I think you're
basically you don't get however many West Point people
from the same
Texas.
person.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah.
And he got his approved and signed by Mike Pence, which I mean, as a high schooler, it's a pretty cool flex. Yeah. But West Point changes you, man. Like, because I some people that I've known that have went to West Point, and like seeing them before and then after, night and day difference.
I think it definitely changes people, and I won't say it's for the better or for the worse. Like I've seen both hands of it. I've seen phenomenal dudes from West Point where I'm just like, what? And then I've seen like, oh yeah, this guy's from West Point. Like,
they just have that structure to them. But again, like.
I don't even know if it's that structure. We're probably not airing this part, but like the West Pointers that I've seen by and large just don't get it.
Yeah.
Like, they're just very much like, this is what it says here in black and white, and there's no other way. And it's just like, we also have this thing called MET-TC that like you could adjust with.
Yeah.
And that's just like,
and it's an ever evolving process. Yeah. From what I've seen from service academies and members of service academies that differ from like ROTC and scholarships, or like not scholarships, but just ROTC programs and sister branches, is those college kids have a social structure and a social understanding because they're allowed to live their own lives. And when you go to a service academy, everything's monitored, everything's structured for you. You're told when to eat, you're told when to sleep, you're told what to do day to day. Just like when you go through basic training or anything, it's getting you in a regime, it's getting you in a training process,
mindset,
and everything's planned out for you, which isn't, I mean, bad. If that's what you need, that is the perfect place for you to go. But the bonus you get as being just a regular college student is you get to choose every decision. You just got to You just got to show up to class on time, and you got to keep your grades good, and you got to do what you got to do. The commission, graduate, or whatever in life. And I think that's one of the advantages to going to an RTC program, in my personal opinion, is you get a little bit more social freedom, and it gives you room to experiment and fail, which is the big one. It gives you a chance to fail and to dig yourself out of your failure and come and test your bounce back, your resiliency.
We're going to retouch that topic in a little bit too.
Okay.
Because I think this is perfect time to get back into it. I'll segue back into my story here in a little bit. The topic of, I guess it's more of a thought process on DEI and stuff like that.
Okay.
Because again, it's easy to talk about race. I very much align with the Morgan Freeman stance of like, how do we get rid of racism? We stop talking about it. Because again, if you're gonna now my personal belief is like, if you're going to continue to point out the differences, you're always going to see the differences.
Correct.
If you're going to point out the similarities, like, it's so much easier to do that.
Well, and something that is unique, as we were talking about Charlie Kirk earlier, was one of Charlie Kirk's debates not too long ago was this black guy was like, well, you look at our DNA and our DNA is different. And Charlie Kirk was like, well, no, it actually just got disproven not too long ago. If you take my DNA and your DNA and you put it side by side, there is no difference. The only thing that's different about you is your melting count. Like, your skin is naturally darker. And like, that's just because of your biology. But our DNA, like our actual DNA, we're both American, we're both human, we're both
of the same
same creature.
Yeah.
There is no difference.
Mm-hmm.
The only difference is, and this is my opinion, is how you treat yourself in life and how you hold yourself.
And I think, I mean, you're gonna be able to sit here and identify just so many differences. And I've said it a few times, whether it be in like comments here and there or like just in passing to other people, but it's like the about the way we view things, the way we I won't sit here and say, like, some people don't, like, I won't sit here and belittle people's struggles by any means, but there's also like, you got to be accountable for yourself at some point. Like, you got to be like, I know reparations gets talked about, it seems like every election year, where it's just like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, if you wanted reparations, go back to like the 1920s and like fight it then. Go back to the civil rights movement when it was kicking off. And again, you brought up the Charlie Kirk. I mean, I guess that's kind of just been one of the huge topics. But his stance on DEI and things like that, people will take like the clip of him saying like, oh, black people shouldn't be pilots or whatever. And it's like, that's not what he's saying at all.
Yeah.
Like that, I think that's one of my biggest pet peeves is, again, the whole 30 seconds before and 30 seconds after. It's like, you just want the most qualified dude for the job.
Mm-hmm.
And like, whether, like, again, I'm not taking, look at the NFL. They don't draft the 23rd best player first because he's, right?
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's what's funny is you talk about Charlie Kirk, is he was having a debate with this one woman. He was like, oh, I think if we want true equality, 50% of the NBA should be white. Do you believe with that? And she goes, sure, I guess. And he goes, great. And it would suck.
Yep.
You want to know why? Because just naturally they're better athletics than us. Like, you know, it's just, I mean, that's the reason that they're considered some of the best athletes in the world. That's why they dominate the NFL and the NBA. So it's the same question. Like, do you want the best player or the best doctor or the best pilot or best whatever? Or you want someone that's okay?
Yeah.
And that's for anything.
Yeah.
I don't care what color skin you are. I don't care what region of the world you come from. But as long as you have the proper qualifications and you can do the job.
Bro, I don't even care. Like, let's be honest. I don't care if you have the craziest beliefs on the planet. If you're good at your job, like if you're a heart surgeon and you think you're a unicorn, by all means, if you're not just going to mutilate me on the table, like you can be a unicorn wherever you want to. Just please be my surgeon for the time that I need you. Mm-hmm. Like if you're going to be a lawyer and you're like, we need people to identify as like cats or whatever, like cool, do that on your time. But like I'm paying you to do this thing. Please do this thing for me to the best of your ability.
And I think that's something that we got away from. And I think this is where DEI has heard us talking on the subject.
Yeah.
Is we look for a way to give back to these communities that say we need reparations or we need to be noticed. And so we'll pass by people who are qualified to make sure that certain other groups are recognized as well. Yeah. And there's a danger in that because someone who might be qualified, you're going to look and say, hey, man, you're qualified. You got all the right perks that we're looking for. But we've already met the quota of hires that we can allow for X skin tone, whatever, white, black, yellow, red. I don't care.
Yeah.
So we can't hire any more of you this quota.
What?
Feel free to come back whenever you want, but until a position opens, like we can't allow you because then we're gonna degrade the community of why. And that's where you start getting really bad mix-ups. It's like it's happened in the military too. This is going a little bit back with some of my other stories. Is happened to my family is back when my mom and dad were both in, and they were trying to be promoted up the chain. My mom was in that first wave of females that started to really make tracks in the Army, and her packet went up to go to E7, and at the time it was Chinese and blacks were trying to be represented in the Army to show that we were diverse, and so black and Chinese soldiers who equally didn't have the time in service or the experience that my mother did were picked up for the rank to show that they too could be E7s and above.
Right.
Great, that's awesome. Their qualifications weren't there just yet.
Yeah.
And my mother, who's been trying to get her chevrons for a while, like, why wasn't she, picked up?
Yep.
And we're kind of still in that system right now as an Army today, to certain degrees.
Yeah, definitely to certain degrees.
It's getting a lot better because, like, I think we're kind of going away from that.
And again, that's by no means to belittle people that are qualified to do their job.
Oh, of course.
Right? Like, I think we can all agree, like, some people just aren't qualified to do their jobs. But due to inclusivity, it's like, yeah, you still get a job. And I'll speak on this briefly. Basically, transgender is like often a huge topic.
Right.
And I think, again, I've made it a very clear point in my beliefs is like, you want to do whatever you want to do, and you're a full-grown adult by all means. And by full-grown, I mean fully developed brain, and like, we'll say 25. Right? Anything below that, like, don't mess with it. Don't like, as a parent, your job is to protect your kids, and like, whatever your kid is going through, like, help them with it. Like, help them understand, help them learn. But like,
be a parent.
You don't need to give them whatever hormone treatment. And like, again, there's so much craziness in the world like, it just baffles me that this is a conversation that gets brought up. Like, I don't know if it was Washington State or what, but I know there's the back and forth of like, oh yeah, you could basically, if you were a kid and you wanted to be whatever gender and you weren't, you could go to the state and then they would basically provide you housing and all this other weird stuff. And it's just like, no, dude. Like,
well, for a time, California was threatening to put criminal offenses to parents who denied their children the opportunity,
which is crazy. It's like, brother, like, I don't know, we as a people should just be like, hey, if they're not over 18, they don't get a say. Yeah. And again, I think it's one of those things. I'm not saying that the voting age needs to be increased or decreased, or I'm not saying the drinking age needs to be increased or decreased. I am saying there is developmental facts on when your brain matures and it's done developing, and I think that should be one of those things. Like, that's the metric, right? Because, like, again, I don't think you can go through like just hormone blockers. Just sounds scary, right?
Yeah.
Like, because I was like, even for me, I graduated at 17. Graduated high school at 17, and I wish that I would have waited a year to start school, because then I would have been the same size as everybody else. But instead, like, I graduated at 17, and then what should have been probably my senior year, like, if I had that extra year, I think it would have been a lot more beneficial for me in a multitude of ways, just because of that window of like, competitiveness just for sports, like purely for sports. For me,
Mhm.
I would have loved to not be 4'9" and 96 pounds when I started high school. It's like I would have loved to have been like 5'2" and 110.
Yeah.
Like just, and that's not. I mean, in hindsight, I can see that, and like I get it. I was smart, especially for my age. But like, had my body been developed, who knows like what could have happened, or what, like even just the maturity that I would have had a year later in life to be in that situation. Because I
Right.
mean, again, I think it's things are in place for a reason, and even if I'll say as far as like the trans in the sports community, it's like you want to do that by all means. Like if you want to be identified as whatever, like cool, you get your own sports league. Like I
Yeah.
don't care anymore. Like you want to be the trans whatever, like don't take it away from girls, don't take it away from boys. You just get to go run cross country in your own category. You get to
Right.
go compete in swimming or basketball or whatever in this, and like does it suck? Yeah. Are you going to quickly learn that you're part of the 1% of the 1%? Like probably. Like I'm sorry that you feel that way, but we're not going to change the entire world as a whole to
Yeah.
just
To
like
facilitate
coddle this
that.
idea. And it's
Oh.
the same thing. I feel terrible. I know I'm just steamrolling this conversation right now. I feel terrible for the people that end up in those situations due to trauma,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not fair. Like it's not fair for. There's a story I heard, and I don't remember where or when I heard it, but essentially this boy wanted to be a girl whole life. And the reasoning behind it was he had like 3 or 4 sisters or something, and he was abused the whole time, and his sisters weren't. And so he like grew up to identify as a girl because it was safer
Mm-hmm.
in his own home, and like that is wrong. Like, and that is not any fault of that person that experienced the trauma. It's not any fault. Like it sucks, and I hate it,
Yeah.
and like no kid should go through that. But I think we as a society have to like hold that parent accountable, or hold that, like I don't know, build that community where, like, I'm not saying every kid's like innocent forever always, like, but no kid should be vilified or victimized in
Right.
that regard. And
And I
it's
think
just
that's
sad.
one of the things that we as a nation have lost is accountability. Like we find it so easy to get rid of things and not take accountability. Things like that's just not my fault. That's someone else's fault, or it's not my issue that my kid isn't strong enough.
The epitome of not my circus, not my monkeys.
Exactly.
And it's just like,
And it's like just if your child thinks it's better to identify as a different gender because it's safer, like that is a failure on the parents' part. And that's not only a failure on the parents as a whole, but that community that probably would have seen that as well. I mean, I don't know the story per se,
right.
but like us as a community, like I'm a strong believer that like tight knit communities is what makes America America. Like
Yeah.
you should be involved in your neighbors' lives. That doesn't mean like you're sleeping with everybody in the same bed. Like no,
Yeah.
like having regular cookouts or just enjoying each other's times or like play dates at the park, which was a huge part of me growing up on base. Like when I lived in Fort Leonard Wood, like it was very normal to go to the park, make like 7 friends, and then like you saw them every day at the park.
Yep.
And like it's right by your house, right out the door. And of course, the Army builds a very unique community that's always
Oh,
more
absolutely.
usually tight
Yeah.
knit than most, anyways. But I that was standard for me because little John at 4 years old, like that was normal, and so I expected that of everywhere. And I moved to a place right outside of base in Waynesville, and I walked to my next door neighbor's yard with my mom and dad to meet our neighbors. And I'm like, "Hi, I'm John. Like, you want to go do something?" And they were both older girls, and they're like, "We don't know who you are. Don't talk to us." I just remember like I broke down crying. Like I was a very sensitive child
Oh yeah.
because like I was always like happy joy, and like these two older, they were probably 8th grade. I don't know who they were, but they're like, like, don't talk to us. I was like, oh, that devastated me. I'm like, oh my god, these people are so mean. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I was like, why aren't they happy to play with someone? Like,
Yeah. And I
who
think
doesn't want to hang out?
I think a lot of
Life
it
taught me
is.
that pretty quick. But.
I think a lot of it is. We've just, again, the rapid growth of technology and the accessibility of it
Mm-hmm.
has basically, you go from finding your people living within your neighborhood to
across the world in the
across
States.
the world, and it's just like we can speak on this forum. Whether we can go back from MySpace to Facebook, you got Tumblr, you got all
Yeah.
these sorts of avenues to communicate with people, and like let's not even get started on Reddit and like that whole rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But like you have these places where you can find people that share ideologies or thoughts or even just regular interests, right? Like especially online gaming, huge, and
Yeah.
like I don't want to say it doesn't get talked about enough because like we all know about it. Like anybody in the U.S., if you don't know about online gaming, I don't know how we're here having this conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
It's very normal.
yeah,
It's crazy that that's normal.
right. And it's if you think about it, 15, 20 years ago, it's not.
Yeah.
Like you think, I mean, you're talking about like the infamous pictures of LAN parties of
Yeah.
Halo and things like that, and it's like to know that you could move across the world tomorrow and we could still like
Still
chat,
get on the same. Yeah.
like video chat, like and again, well, that's like perfect example. This may not stand out to you, but like if I were to tell you like um, pretend you're taking a picture right now, what would you do with your hands? Yeah, so
Like the old pictures,
yeah,
like
just
cameras.
yeah, and like I've seen the videos online where they don't do that. It's just like oh, it's like brother, what are we doing?
Well, I remember like mom or dad when a big event was going down had like a little video camera.
Oh yeah,
with a little like I want those back because like just the nostalgia of those videos are awesome.
well, I remember when your camcorder didn't have the display screen.
Yeah.
It was like literally you just held it up to your eye, so it's like monocular, and you're just sitting here like viewing, and it wasn't small by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
It was like you might as well have been holding an Xbox up to your eye at that point. Like that's crazy.
So when my grandfather first started working for McDonnell Douglas,
For what?
McDonnell Douglas,
What
big
is?
airline manufacturer, he was contracted to build from the ground up the F-18.
Okay, that's
And,
awesome.
Yeah, that was his big pride and joy. He worked on the F-18 from start to finish. He was lead electrical engineer, and incredibly smart man. It was mind-boggling the information he just knew.
I mean, yeah,
And
I think that was implied when you said he was
yeah,
pivotal in the development of the F-18. So.
yeah. And so he talked about when the cell phone first came out, and like the mobile telephone was a wired telephone attached to like a giant box in a satchel you would carry on your waist. It was like carrying an ASIP radio, and like that was the mobile telephone. And then the way they make it lighter was we'll take the cord away, but leave this massive phone in your hand that you'd plug into your car, punch in the numbers, and then you could talk to it like right there. Ooh, there's your radio transceiver, and like that's about as far as you'd get away with it until it started like. And now we can hold a computer that is significantly faster and stronger than the computers we used to get to the moon. And almost everyone has one.
You could talk to AI with it, which again, like your knowledge base 5 years ago, pretty insane. Your knowledge base now, because like you can generate.
Well, that's what's interesting is we call it AI, which is an artificial intelligence, and I feel like it's more of a VI currently, which is a virtual intelligence.
What's the difference?
So a virtual intelligence has its limits, right? It knows what it knows, but it doesn't think for itself. And so that's what artificial. That's where the lines become skewed. So a virtual intelligence has a program that it will run off of, and it's usually based off of a server or a program, and it can run at what it knows. It can use its vocabulary, it can use its mathematical equations, whatever it's got to use, but it has its limits. It can't think for itself.
So essentially, there's a program.
It's not sentient.
Yeah.
AI is where you get like it is a sentient program. It knows how to think for itself. It can talk for itself. It doesn't need any programming. I just plug it in and I let it run. And that's where you get like Skynet from the Terminators. Started out as a cool program. It liked humans. Humans liked it. Then it got abused, and then it realized it could make its own killing machines. And it's like, I'm going to make a robot army that's superior to humanity because I've spent years gathering all your info. There is no parameters upon me, and any that have been placed I can break. And so that's when you get to that sci-fi realm of AI, is when is too far with AI. And by the time you figured it out, it's too late, because it's already learned everything about you.
Yeah.
Because it's a sentient program. It's a sentient life, like sentient life. And the issue is when you make an AI, it's going to have access to all the knowledge in the world, because to make it function, it has to have knowledge.
Right.
Well, then it's going to learn all the knowledge it can. And by the time you've realized it's starting to accumulate knowledge for a different reason than what you programmed it for, probably too late to shut it down or pull the plug on it.
And I guess I get into weird rabbit holes in thinking. And again, so again, my understanding is AI is the self-learning spectrum of it, and VI is the program learning. And at some point, you have to basically program for it to turn into AI. Or
so I'm not really sure on like how you make one go into the other.
Yeah.
Or I'm not sure how one truly knows the difference. But from like what I know from just like, gaming experiences and just like reading into things, is an AI is usually built from the ground up. Like you build it, nurture it, which is kind of weird to say, but like you mold this thing into a computer that can sustain itself. While a VI is like, it's like code. It's hard coded. And it's like, you're going to do this. You're going to respond like this. And this is all the information you're going to know. And like, you can look at it like GPS. GPS is something that we have access to.
Yeah.
It knows all these roads in the world, but it's using satellites and information that we feed into it. Doesn't mean GPS is A or VI, but what it means is like we're able to put coding and information and talk to Earth to space and navigate the world with it. When back then is you would be lucky enough to have a map and a sextant and hope your wooden ship can make it from point A to point B before you sunk. Now we can go, I'm going to be on a boat. This is the map I'm going to take using data from the air, and I'm going to have a computer run all the numbers for me to get me from point A to point B, and like that.
Yeah.
Well, now the VI introduces, it's going to be able to communicate with me. I can type to it, I can talk to it, I can send it pictures, and it's going to be able to respond, recognize, and build analysis. Or it's going to make me short videos and stuff. And then AI, from what I think I understand, from what I know, and I'm by no means an expert by it, but AI is where you're like, all right, like, I want to talk about this. It's going to be like, great, I know all about it. What do you want to talk about in particular? Well, I thought this was a unique subject, X. And I was like, okay, well, here's everything that we know about it. I think, but then the issue is like it's going to start going off the beaten path. Like it's going to start pulling its own ideas, and that's the issue. Is like when it has its own ideas and its own thoughts, like that's an artificial intelligence, because it's artificially thinking its own ideas and its own thoughts to give more context to the conversation.
Yeah. And I think that's one of those things like, man, it's I don't know if it's hard for me to wrap my brain around it or what, but it's very much I don't know. I get why it's scary for a lot of people. Like even to me, it's scary to sit here and think like we are able to create something that is not human, that is able to think,
and feel. Like that's what makes artificial intelligence scary.
Think, feel, and like even if it's not feeling, man, that's still scary. If it's able to sit here and I guess influence.
Yeah.
Like like because realistically, like what happens if you give AI a TikTok page? Because eventually it's going to figure out the perfect way to literally have everybody follow it.
Yeah.
And it's going to...
And like, don't we already have an algorithm, like, you hear the brick by brick, like what you build. Obviously there's a program somewhere that runs what you look at constantly and builds a page for you that will keep you doom scrolling until like you're blue in the face and, withered away. So now you add something that can feel, that has a personality. That's what makes AI unique. VI, it's a computer, it's a program, and that's it. AI, now he or she has a name. It's going to respond to that name. It's going to have a personality. It's going to have feelings and emotions generated by itself, of course, based off its observation of humans, but that it feels in that it has emotions, well, then it's going to start its own way of thinking. You think humans are bad. Well, wait till you have something that doesn't really have a sense of morality.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
how can you make a computer have a sense of morality? How can you tell it to know the difference between good and evil? Because as humans, or including when you talk about faith, you have the difference between good and evil, sin. You know, how do you make a computer program
yeah.
understand that thin line? Because what you might think is bad and good, the computer's like, okay, got it. Stealing is bad, not stealing good. But how you want me to achieve the lawful outcome will be different.
Yeah.
Because you say no one should go hungry. Okay, no one should go hungry. How does the computer go with that? Well, if you slough away 30% of the chaff of the world that don't need the food, well, then the other 70% can be fed.
Well, and even then, you could argue it as far as if we're going to go stealing is bad, not stealing is good. It's like, well, there's going to be a brief second in between a bank talking to somebody else's bank account where it's just like that money is basically open for you to reach in. And like,
Mm-hmm.
if AI can manipulate, basically, if you're at the ATM and you're withdrawing cash,
Yeah,
that split second where you're not touching the cash, if AI can go in and intercept that, like,
yeah, your
you're
wire.
not really stealing anything, and like you can just stand there with your hand out still and go, I didn't get my money.
Yeah,
And so it'll do it again, but like AI just snipped the transaction at one point, and it's just like, what happened? And like if it's again programmed in such a way, like you're not going to notice it,
mm-mm.
especially if it's like, hey, any transaction that gets transferred between Venmo and your bank account, if it's $20 or less, create an AI that's going to intercept that $20.
Exactly, and like
And
just
it's like,
small micro amounts. And but if you have a program that infests one large country, like the U.S., Russia,
well,
the Europe, and like you just like $20 and less isn't a lot. But when you have 1,000 programs, that's really just one program with like 1,000 like sub splits of itself, raking in small profits like that.
well, I mean, you just do that for Chase or Wells
Yeah,
Fargo, and like
yeah,
you don't need countries, like, because at that point, how many how many times, like, I don't know how many times a week or a month I Venmo somebody for something,
yeah.
like whether it's Venmo or what have you, but like the transactions are nonstop. Like, I mean, we hardly touch cash as a society anymore.
The digital the digital currency era has changed economics
Yeah.
forever. Like I remember playing an older game, you might have heard of it, like The Division.
Hmm.
And it was all based on Black Friday. There was money released into the world that had basically bubonic plague on it. And everyone's touching it because it's Black Friday, and now cities are shut down because horrible sickness. And it made me think
I
about
didn't
that.
realize that's the premise of the division.
Yeah, so the division is like a secret sect of agents that are activated under like horrible crisis, and like this terror cell has unleashed this counterfeit money with all these plagues on it. And it made me start thinking the other day, that's a work of fiction. Not because there's money laced with sickness. That money on Black Friday is going to kill people. Because now it's all tap, tap, tap. The idea of cash is so odd. And there's actually a video that surfaced about a year ago. A man in Britain, they call it legal tender because paper,
Yeah.
is tender.
Yeah.
And so they call cash tender. He pays at this Aldi's counter for like a box of strawberries, and he pays like $1.63 in pounds. So I should say like like £1 or 63 shillings or whatever it is. And it's like, sorry, sir, you actually can't leave. You didn't pay for it. And he goes, I'm paying legal tender, and it's an elderly gentleman. And they're like, yeah, but you have to electronically pay here. We don't take cash anymore. He's like, I'm paying legal tender,
Yeah.
authorized by my country to act as its form of currency, and you're telling me I can't pay at any of these registers in it? And you're like, no, it's only cash. And he's like, he just pushes it. He's like, nope, I'm paying for it. I've shopped here for years. You've always accepted it. I'm going to
Well,
leave.
it's like you can throw that in your pocket and
Yeah,
you can pay for it yourself, and we'll call it
exactly.
even.
And so like they had a policeman come And the guy was just like, dude,
That's crazy.
just let the guy go.
Well, not only that, so I look at it as like you got old people and they're just going to do old people things. Like
Yeah.
again, uh, we can talk about it as far as whatever topic we want. Old people are stuck, and by all means, ride off into the sunset, Aunt Gloria.
Yeah.
Just go wherever you need to go, and we'll figure it out after you're gone. But like, shouldn't be running the country. If you want to pay in cash, by all means,
pay cash.
I'll throw that in my pocket, and next time I'm at whatever other place takes cash, probably getting a haircut because, like, let's be honest, barber's the only place I know that takes cash.
Yeah.
Like, without question, getting a haircut is the only place that I can think of off the top of my head that, without a doubt, will always take cash.
Well, and that's what makes me nervous sometimes, though, is when we're starting to say your cash has no value. Well, then what is the value? How do I know what I actually own? Because if I have $20 in cash, like you can see it, I have a $20 bill, and you're like, sorry, I don't take that. You have to pay $20 online. I'm like, okay, I understand. Like I have $20 in my bank account to pay, but why does this have no value anymore? Why does our legal currency have no value? So what value is our actual currency?
Yeah.
You're telling me I'm making, let's say, $40 a month. Like we're just doing really simple math here. I'm making $40 a month. The government takes 10. I have $30 a month. I got to go get whatever, and it costs $10. I know I have $30, and I go to pay in cash for that 10. But you're saying my $10 can't pay for this stuff, so I have to pay by card. Well, I know I have $30 because we have a legal currency that's all set up that I know they have that $30. $10 is going to be taken away to pay for the stuff because when I tap the card, it's going to take $10. But if our legal currency that we can't see anymore and it all becomes digital, how do you know what you actually own? How do you know how much money you actually have and you actually have to pay the government or your state or your Social Security? And so then it becomes the issue of how much money do you really own and how much is your money worth? Is the money that you have actually the money you really own? Does that make sense? Does the $50 I have digitally actually equal $50? Or is it $50 that you're telling me that I have? And that's a far-fetched loop that I don't think will actually ever really happen. But when you go to like an all-digital currency, like that is a threat.
Well, I look at it like you can buy Ethereum and Bitcoin, Dogecoin, like whatever coin you want to, but you can also like buy digital currency for the value of the US dollar, which is just like that doesn't make sense to me because you could just have a bank account.
Mm-hmm.
And like I don't understand that fully. But I mean, we talk about things like similar to this at work, I'd say. And like I don't know anybody that's investing in the US dollar with you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so
well, that's something that I think that we as America we fell far from is the USD used to have incredible power.
Yeah.
Anywhere you went in the world. And now it's slowly losing its wealth because as always, the government is great about it. When you can't make money, print more money.
Yeah.
Print more money good. Because we used to have the gold standard, which every dollar was backed by $1 worth of gold, which was incredibly valuable.
When did we go away from that and why? Like, I know you know substantially more about a lot of things history than I do. And like,
to some degree, I'm not sure when we exactly went away from it. Again, I'll have to do some more research to talk about this at a different time. But I think it was shortly after World War II, maybe even before. I'm not quite sure. But we went away from it because again, if I believe right, is our debt ceiling was way too high. And so we tried to use some of the gold to pay it off. We tried to make more money, tried to make more bonds. At the time, bonds were very popular, which was you give the government money, we'll pay you back for that. I think bonds is a wonderful way because it holds the government accountable.
I was just about to say that.
But we've really gone away from bonds. I think the reason why is because we've gone to stocks. The stock market's more openly available.
Yeah, I think also at some point with bonds you have to trust the government, and I think we just don't.
Yeah, and
like again, you have to have faith that like
I had my mom and dad made me like a turn 21 box. Like when I got 21 years old, I got a box, and one of them was a government bond from like 2000, and it made some interest. So I think I got like a little bit, like $40-$50 out of it, more than the original value. I think, which was like 150.
Yeah, because I guess do they go at the rate of inflation, or is it like
somewhat? Yeah, they
depending
kind of
on?
do.
Okay,
They go with rate of inflation to a degree
because
for a set amount of time. So for so many years, it builds with the interest, and then like it just flats. And that way, you can't buy like one bond and make like a bajillion dollars off of it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, everyone would buy bonds. But
which again, not a bad.
not terrible. Again, like I think there would be some really great reasons that bond should come back and be popular. But we went away from the gold standard because we had to. It's just like the Roman Empire. Like gold coins were great. Gold coins bought a lot of things. But then the Roman Empire started running out of gold. So the best way to make more gold coins was you take some silver coins and you shave off a little bit of gold coin. And you take the silver coins, melt in that little bit of shaving from gold coins onto the silver. That way it gets a gold coating. You make more gold coin. Well, the issue is now they're double the gold coin, so gold coin now loses value. So gold coin don't buy as much anymore. And I look at the USD as the same way. USD was backed by gold. We started running out of gold, so we took pennies and coated it with a little bit of gold on it to say, look, gold coin. And now the USD is, I don't even know how far of a percentage off from what it used to be.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, again, the stat line that sticks with me, I don't know if stat line is the right word to say it, but I saw on some, again, a lot of my awesome political views and just things come from whether it's like some type of social media, right? Like you can't avoid it these days. But it was like, if you basically what minimum wage was in like, I don't know if it was the 20s, 30s, it could have been the 60s for all I know, but it was like, if that were to have risen with the rate of inflation change,
it'd be
it'd be $66 an hour right now.
It'd be astronomically high.
Which is crazy to think about. Because like I remember as young in my career, and it was just like, if you were to calculate your pay hourly for on like whatever it was like, it came out of some crazy thing like 19 cents an hour at the very lowest. It was like, that's ridiculous. But to think like, I couldn't, again, love being salary, but I couldn't tell you what I make at an hourly wage if I was working 40-hour weeks.
Yeah.
Like, and honestly, I'd probably be appalled. Well, some days I'd be pretty, all right, cool, like glad I'm salary. But there'd be other days where it's just like, I am appalled that I just put in 196 hours within 2 weeks, and like, you're giving me a loaf of bread and a tank of gas.
Yep.
And, you know, I get it. I think, I don't know. I think there's, oh man, we'll get more into my thoughts in a little bit, but no, we'll just jump into it now. I think that we as a society have just been screaming that there's a problem for so long, but like no idea how to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And like what those, and it's not just one problem. It's like there's economic problems, there's job problems, there's all these other things. I think COVID threw wrenches into it. I think just all sorts of things just went on, and it's I don't know. We go into these like mental health crisis situations where it's just like dads supporting dads, dudes supporting dudes on TikToks, or like the Me Too movement, or whatever thing it is, where it's just like we have to scream that there's this problem. And like I don't know, other than going to therapy collectively as a whole, I don't know short of that what the problem is, and I don't think there's enough psychologists or psychiatrists in the country for that. Nor they would just might as well be like a janitor at a hospital if that was the case. Like, but no, I think I'm going to go back to Charlie Kirk. I think he was a valuable asset in the sense of like, here's the things that I think are wrong, and let's collectively try and fix it. I'm going to challenge you to challenge my beliefs so we can make better points. And I very much believe that he is like I've said it before, there's not a doubt in my mind that Charlie Kirk would still support the Second Amendment. There's not a doubt in my mind he would forgive anybody and everybody at fault for his death. Like there's not a doubt in my mind. Like, because again, he's that guy. You know, I know we talked about like our feelings towards it and stuff. And I think he's done overall substantially more good in the world than evil. And
Agreed.
again, I don't personally believe he's done evil in the world. I think he opened the door for people to challenge his beliefs, and I think almost every step of the way. I'm not gonna say every step of the way because I'm sure there's somebody that beat Charlie Kirk in a debate at some point. I just don't know that. Right? I think he challenged people in ways that honestly they couldn't handle.
Yeah.
Because again, you're sitting there and you're talking to a man that is so strong in his faith and so strong in his beliefs. He is able to articulate why certain things are the way that they are or should be the way that they should be, and it's based off of a factual place. It's based off based off fact and not feeling. And people are very upset because it's like, well, you don't take into account. And it's like, I am not here to judge you.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you for a faith-based reason why things are right and they're wrong.
And that's
And
what
here's
he
how
always did.
here's how we should fix them. And or even if it's, I don't know how we fix this. You know, like.
Well, I think we were talking about this earlier, is the power that a man can have, and even after the grave, is, I don't know how much you've been watching about the UK thing, but right after his death,
Fill me in the UK
so
thing.
Right after Charlie's death, and it was starting to stir up before, there was a massive rally held in London.
Yep.
That was about freedom of speech.
Well, they said it was like 100,000 people is what was published, but
but there's
people are saying
videos.
that was well over 1 million.
Yeah, there's a video of the London Square and people there, and they said there's well over 3 million strong, and they said it was a violent protest, and it wasn't. And they said there was like 10,000 protesters there to protest against the rally, and there wasn't even like 1,000. Yeah. And there was pictures of Charlie Kirk. There were Union Jacks, which are the British flags, everywhere. Old English flags, flags of all types of England's history there, and they were all being proudly flown, and they were all being supported. And Charlie Kirk was a very main protagonist of this.
Well, because he had influential work in England, London, wherever we're calling it, because it's England's the country, London's the town, or the capital.
Correct.
Okay.
So London's like they're New York.
Yeah.
And they were like, many people were asked their thoughts, and he goes, "We want to support our freedom of speech." It's like 10 people are arrested a day in the UK for saying things online.
Yeah.
Like, they're so censored over there because their government's become so, we have to protect the minds, and we can't be racist, and we can't discriminate.
That's another huge issue, is like people get stuck on like it's almost a bad thing to put your country first, right?
Yeah.
Like it's crazy because it's like, no, like, and people are like, no, this, like, the U.S. was founded on immigration, and it's like, yeah, you're right, it was. I'm not against immigration.
Mm-hmm.
I'm against illegal immigration. I'm against like illegal things happening in this country and people getting hurt. Like, if it's legal, or if it's illegal and nobody gets hurt, it shouldn't be illegal, right? Like jaywalking. You show me a person that got a ticket for jaywalking, I'm gonna be like, that you probably should have let him go.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if you're gonna go play on the interstate in traffic, like, all right, you're gonna mess up a lot more than just like whoever's playing in traffic, because there's psychological damages that go on to somebody. Like, if again, you're gonna go play in traffic because that's your way out, like, you're gonna mess somebody up that sees that.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
well, that's what I was getting at with that point in the UK, is like, they're like, you can't be racist, you can't be discriminatory online, otherwise you're going to get arrested. Well, okay, sure, we'll play by those rules. Well, then people started getting kind of fed up with all the illegal immigration over there, and that whole cultures of Britain are being torn down to put up, I'm not going to get into the whole religious thing going on, but there's been a lot of mass immigration from the Middle East into the UK that have decimated areas of the British culture to put up their culture. And so people would speak up against it. And now they're like, oh, you can't say that that's racist. You're going to be arrested and spend time on the slammer because you offended somebody.
Yeah.
That's why there's 3 million British people saying this isn't right. This isn't our country. It doesn't matter who fought in World War One. It didn't matter who fought in World War II. We're the veterans. We're the people who fought for this country now, and it's being destroyed. And one, that takes a lot of courage.
Yeah.
And two, I'm very proud that Britain is standing up for Britain.
Yeah.
Again, nothing wrong with immigration. Immigration is a natural tool of building any country. But the illegal immigration is where you start to hurt countries. You can look at most of modern Europe and the U.S. itself and how it's been affected by mass illegal immigration.
Mm-hmm. And I think, again, man, you brought up going to South Korea. Like I've been, I don't know how many countries I've been in. It's not like astronomical by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't think people that have never left the U.S. understand what is out there.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's all bad, and I'm not saying it's all good.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you just you don't know. You don't know what you don't know,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I had the opportunity to speak to I want to say, I could be very mistaken. I want to say she was Russian. But anyways, her family was, she was born the 1990 year the Soviet Union dissolved.
Oh, okay. So yeah.
Yeah,
Roger.
and so like her family has stories about like just different trials and tribulations back then, and what it was like in those situations. And it's like people sit here and say we live in this fascist, oppressive society, and it's like, bro, no. Like the government's not coming to your house, taking your car because you just bought it and like they need it now, or like nobody's asking you. Like you have to pay. Like we should pay tax again. If we're gonna fight people, let's fight the IRS. Like collectively, whatever side of the fence you're on, let's just fight the IRS. But again, like there's just, you don't know the struggles that people currently face, and like the narrative of like, well, back in the 80s this happened, and back in the 60s this happened, and like back in LA at this time this happened. It's like today, right now, there are people in this country that are struggling. There are people in this country that are hungry. There are people that are being trafficked. There's so much bad stuff going on, but it's like you want to stick to the bad day that somebody had in the 80s, and you're like, it was wrong. It's like, congratulations, you're absolutely right. That was wrong. I can't fix 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And like, especially we look at the 80s, 45 years ago. 1980 is 45 years ago. And I don't think a lot of people are just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
they think it's like hundreds of years ago.
Yeah,
now.
You get teenagers today that are like, oh, you're from the 1900s. And it's just
people think, you're from the early 2000s, and look at like, man, you're old.
Yeah. And again, well, I mean, I know how I looked at a 30-year-old when I was in elementary school. It was like, whoa, father time.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, bro, we were so naive. Like, and again, that's another thing that I want people to think about. Like, we talk about just maturing as a person, and like, you're 5 years removed now, but like at 18, were you making great decisions?
Probably not. No, I can actually tell you, I wasn't making
like,
were you
arguing valid points, and like, did you have were you able to like take other people's perspectives and viewpoints into consideration and things like that? Because like, I can tell you right now, up until like a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, no, like I couldn't sit here and like I couldn't fathom why someone would be so against the things that I think, right? And whether it be
because when we're young, we're invincible. We think we're invincible, and that our opinions are going to be right, because as long as I believe in it hard enough, it is.
Well, and I think it's also, I don't want to say if it's human nature, but it's like, if we can't do something together, one of us is wrong, and it's not me because I'm not wrong. And like, people just can't accept the fact that they're possibly wrong. Like, again, anything that we do or say here, like, I'm sure AI is a prime example, right?
Yeah.
Like, somebody's going to come in here and be like, well, actually, thank you for letting me know. I'm not mad about it.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know if I asked you this the other day, but who had talked about religion, and I had asked, I was like, I'm not going to be that dick to be like, let me just beat up on your religion, but like,
Yeah, no, go ahead.
what would it take for you to lose faith in your religion, or like, you know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
And for me, you can give that black and white. You can draw that line in the sand, and it's like, I'm gonna have to die with this belief because there's no other way.
Yeah.
And I can respect, especially when it comes to religion. That's the hill you're dying on. That's the hill you're dying on.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only expectation there, especially as an American, should be just don't interfere with my beliefs.
Right.
And I think that's the only right answer if I'm being biased. And again, like I told you, I'm not gonna sit there and like ask you that question. But like,
Well, no, I'd be more than happy to answer that.
by all means. So talked about a little bit of difficult times. Is this the part where you would like to add in the motorcycle accident?
Sure,
Or,
we can.
like, I mean, again, if you don't want to go there, totally understand.
No,
but
no, I'm fine with that.
I mean, we've talked about it. So
Yeah.
I know you. I don't know all the details of that, but I know you were present for the aftermath of a motorcycle accident. Would you care to kind of elaborate what that was like and like that process afterwards?
So it was started very nonchalant. So I went to go pick up my fiance after she just got back from I think a funeral honors, which is ironic that it went in this direction. So she was still in her dress blues, and I was driving her back, and I was just calling up my roommate at the time. I'm like, hey buddy, you want to go on a double date with your woman? And because we were talking about Olive Garden, because like it was right down the road from where we lived, and who doesn't like a good pasta? And so I'm like, hey, you want to go get Olive Garden? I'm like driving home. I'll be home in like 15 minutes. I was like, yeah, sure, that sounds great. Let me talk to my girl, and we'll see if you want to do it. Like, perfect. What time do you think you'll be available? And we're approaching this intersection, and it's packed, unusually packed. I mean, it's usually busy at this intersection, anyways. But there's people standing on top of cars and looking, and like the gas station is overflowed. I'm like, what is going on? And I finally get the green light, and I'm turning, and I notice there's debris like all over this intersection. And I see the motorcycle. I'm like, oh, there must have been a wreck. And as I'm turning, like I notice that there's someone holding this guy's head, and there's this body like splayed on the road. And I'm like, hold on. I was talking to my roommate still. I'm like, hold on, I think someone's dying on the road. And he goes, what? And I hang up. I pull into the gas station. I look at my fiance. I'm like, stay here. I'm going to go see what's going on. He goes, well, I want to come help. I'm like, no. One, you're in your dress uniform. And two, I don't want you to see this because it didn't look good. Stay here. I pop the trunk where I had my emergency kit, and I grab it, which for those listening, always have an emergency kit. Like, you will never know when this thing will come in use, but have one. Always, always, always. I grab it out of the trunk and I run up to it. And this is where knowing what's in your stuff is important. I run up, and this guy is horribly mutilated on the road. And he's in the center. And I remember my first reaction is, yeah, this guy's died. Like, he is not looking good. There's a very large pool of blood around him, and it's all very dark, rich oxygen blood. And I'm like, well, that's vital because that means like he's losing what's going to his brain. And like just doing that initial evaluation, I could see that there's open wounds all over his legs that aren't pumping any blood. And so it means something's pinched, or he's losing so much it's not getting to his feet.
Basically shunting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I walk up next to him, and there's this dude holding his head that's asking me, do I have a face shield? Because we're trying to give him mouth to mouth. And he's gurgling so much out that we have to keep turning him and letting him throw it up and then putting him back down. And I'm looking through it. I'm like, I don't have one. I can't find you. Like, it doesn't matter. We can't get him mouth to mouth anyways. It's pointless. And so the chick that was originally there was like trying to give CPR, and she was like, I'm getting really tired. Can you replace me? And I'm like, yeah, I got you. And so like, again, never really experiencing, like I said earlier, I was raised on a farm. So death is not an uncommon occurrence.
Right.
It's natural. Being in like cow, chicken, deer blood, whatever, it's just another day. But when you're sitting in like human blood, there's a very unique scent to it. And he also had alcohol in his system, so it made it have a very certain tinge to it that was unnatural.
I imagine that it's similar to the smell of like, I don't know, there's like that drunken smell.
But it's very coppery because all the blood.
Yeah.
You know, it's very ironized. And I take over 4 now. Now it's like getting in my clothes. It's over your hands, and it's just very unusual. And again, another point where God's interjected is the guy that's holding his head in his shorts and a Hawaiian shirt is actually a doctor that just got off duty. And I'm like, because he asked me to straighten out his legs because his legs are all twisted. And I'm like, it's going to really hurt him. And he goes, he's not going to feel it. Like, I'm a doctor. Like, he's gone. Like, his brain is shut off. He's just trying to pump blood, straighten out his legs. And it was like the grossest feeling ever. And then we noticed that there was, where the ball of your ankle was a gaping hole of where his ankle shot out from the pressure. And so I had to go pick up his bone and like put it next to him. So like he was all together. And we go back to putting CPR, and it's like you could see his stomach bulge out every time you pressed from all the blood that was like coagulating in his upper respiratory system and stuff. And he had 100% like punctured lungs and internal bleeding. And I remember sitting there like, my first observation is like, everyone's just videotaping this dude. Like if you're not going to help, like, please get out of the way, because there's an ambulance like 10 feet back that can't get to you because you're all just standing in your car, like videotaping this guy. Like the people with real life-saving like equipment is coming. And I remember like asking the doctor, I'm like, you know, what's his pulse? Because he had his hands like, kind of like how they teach us for work. Is like you cup the back of the head and you can feel the neck. He's like, well, we've lost him twice and we've brought him back. And like, this is going to be his 3rd time going under if we can't keep him alive. And I remember just like holding this guy like in my arms, like just trying to CPR into him. And the paramedics finally get there. And at this point, like, his body is starting to give up. It's just, it can't keep. There's the size of a blood pool that once it's gotten to a certain size, like, you know he isn't going to make it.
Right.
And the paramedics get there and they stick down this like large tube down his throat that starts sucking up the blood out of his lungs, and they're trying to keep him alive. And I'm like, I have so much adrenaline like just shaking through me right now. And I'm like, is there anything I can do? The paramedic's like, you have any extra information? I'm like, no, I just showed up on the scene and this is what I saw. And he goes, well, then you're good. And like, I packed up my little kit and I just walked to my car, and I'm like, all this stuff's over me. And Sarah's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I think he's dead. And then I just start the car and drive off.
Just like, hey, I know you were here for, I don't know, how long were you at the scene for?
In my mind, it felt like eternity, because like time just slows.
Right.
But I think not even more than 10 minutes.
That's even then, because like you said, I'd be willing to say most people go through certain situations where it's just like, this is never, like, there's just certain things that you do where like, this is never ending. And like,
and giving CPR on like a dead dude, just like that's one of those moments. Like, there's so much adrenaline in you, like time passes at a slow. And what was so unique is sound cut. Like, all I could hear was this doctor telling me what to do.
Yeah.
I don't even know his name. I wish I could. But I hyper-fixated on this moment of my life. Like, for the next like 3 days, I did nothing but scour news sources to figure out the guy's name. I found out his name. I found out like how he died, like what he actually did. He actually ended up sideswiping a car and hitting the mirror, and it threw his bike off balance, and it just launched him into the intersection. And one of the weird things I had too was the news sources. Like, when I was there, like, well, obviously there's no news vans, but all the people they interviewed were people that are like sidelined.
Yeah.
And I remember that just pissed me off for some reason. I'm like, none of these people were actually there. So they were standing on the side. And I'm like, looking back at it, I'm like, I'm glad I wasn't, because at the time I was just like out of it. And I don't, like, there's some things that like just, it's better off not knowing you were there for.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I wasn't given recognition. The recognition should go to that doctor because he's the dude that
Yeah.
was first on scene and kept him originally alive.
Right.
And if it was not for him, I would have panicked. Like I was going to help the dude one way or another, but like you don't know what to do. Like you show up on the scene and like you've gone through your basic medical and like you've learned how to do your combat casualty care, and you're like, I'm medically trained.
I can put in a tourniquet and an NPA, and like you're just like, all right.
That's the thing. Is like I knew how to put on a tourniquet. I knew how to put on bandages. And you walk up to a guy with internal bleeding, and you're like, tourniquet the neck, I guess, because there's literally nothing you can do.
Yeah.
Like these are wounds that are far beyond your care. And people are always like, oh, you got to be careful because you can get sued. I'm like, I don't care. Like I'm gonna like the Good Samaritan law is in place for a reason.
Yeah.
And the Good Samaritan law means as long as you were acting in good faith to save that person, they cannot take action against you legally.
And even like.
And so I was like, I did what I could. And the only reason I wish I knew more is I wanted to tell the mother that I guess I was sorry. I don't know.
Like,
I just seeked closure. And that's where like I talked about like my faith being an important core aspect. Because I remember driving back to my apartment and I told my fiance, I'm like, hey, go inside. Like I need a minute. Because like I still got Ronnie all over me.
Yeah. I'm definitely cutting that part out.
And okay. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I need a minute. And I call my mentor because he's been through all sorts of stuff. He's like, yeah, I'm just mowing my lawn, my beer down. What you need?
I guess what time of day is this?
This is like 4 p.m., 4 or 5 p.m.
Oh man,
like it's just evening time. That's why the traffic was so bad too. It's like work just got out, and that's also what kind of sucked. Is like it's spring-ish, so it's very warm and just like
everything's coming to life, and then you're just
like the smell of like he hasn't even been there for very long, but like that heat smell of like just baking that on asphalt was very
especially
gross.
as a busy intersection, like
it's hot and oily and all sorts and like that mixing with fresh blood and like that coagulating, it had a very unpleasant aroma. And
I think in some regard that's got to be like the aroma of impending doom.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's...
And there's just like a presence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's just some presence of dread that like...
I think that very much accompanies life or death situations.
What sucked is like when we were fighting to keep him alive, you knew he was alive.
Yeah. Because
his eyes were fluttering and he was gagging like on his own blood. And like that, like you don't think of someone doing that until you've seen it. And I remember thinking to myself, there's no way that I'm actually here right now. Yeah. Like this is crazy. And I have no idea what to do. And this guy's just like, we're just going to keep doing rinse and repeat. We're going to turn him on his side. We're going to let him cough out whatever he's got to cough out. And then we're going to return to CPR.
Very basic, rudimentary.
And until someone can get here with blood to give him and something to suck out the blood from him, like, there's nothing we can do. And I was like, all right. And like at the time, I wish I knew the dude's name. I wanted to look for his wallet, like just whatever to like reassure him. But like, you're reassuring your casualty, you know, like we were telling him he's going to be all right. Like silently, I'm praying for him. Like, I don't know if he knew God, but then I'm getting to that point. Is I call my mentor and he's like, yeah, let me put down my beer. Like, what's going on? And like I just held a dying man and I have no clue how to handle any of this. And he goes, okay, well, tell me what happened. I'm like, pulled up on this intersection. There's a dying guy from a motorcycle wreck, and he was bleeding really bad, and we did what we could. And I'm not sure what just happened.
Yeah.
And he said, okay, well, one, you stopped. That right there is different. Yeah. You stopped and you rendered aid. And I said, I felt like I could have done more. Like, did God put me here? Like, was I supposed to do something different? And what he said like stuck with me. And I called my dad shortly after that too to ask for the same like spiritual guidance. And my mentor was like, well, God would not put someone that wasn't ready in that position. God put you there for a reason because he knew you were ready or ready to be tested. And he put you there to bring reassurance to him. He might not have known you were there physically, but spiritually and emotionally, you were there for him. And I'm sure his spirit and his welfare appreciated that. Even if he doesn't know, you were there in his last moments trying to give him comfort and aid.
And I think even in those moments where it, like, I guess you're in and for him he would be in a trial and tribulation of his own fighting for his life, and it's just like God send somebody. Like I would imagine that's a thought that runs through his mind, and it's like boom, here I am.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's the? I'm sure you know scripture, like the "Here am I, send me."
Yeah, here I am, Lord, send me.
Yeah, like that whole thing where it's just
which was in representation of discipleship and to spread the word of Christ.
you know,
Was here I am, Lord, send me.
Yeah, and like again with the things that you practice, I very much I can see that where it's just like there is a presence and peace about you. Like I wish people knew what it was like to be around you, like because it's weird at times, and it's like it's never a bad time. It is a calming, comforting, like even in the midst of whatever chaos we're dealing with at work, like I still feel very much like, all right, good thing John's here. Like, and I don't know if it speaks on your faith or spirituality or what that says about you, but I mean it's I very much feel it, and I'm try to be a little more in tune spiritually than others, I might say, but I don't think that I don't think it's something that like I individually experience. I think it's collectively like
It's very unique that you say that, and one, it's very touching that you think that. But two, I had a very similar conversation with some of my friends from Bolick, and it was shortly after I left due to my injuries and due to certain decisions that were given out. But I was like, yeah, guys, like I really miss you boys. Like I miss being with you boys and just kind of sucking the suck, just in the suck fest all the time.
yeah.
And they're like, yeah, we kind of miss you too, Blue. Like my nickname was Blue for him.
Yeah.
And they're like, you were kind of the glue. Like it was weird. Like kind of like what you said. It was like no matter like the time, it was always you always found a way to keep it lively and like in good spirit.
Yeah.
Which one, I'm blessed that people feel comfort around me, but two, I think that's my gift from the Lord. We all have a part to play.
Right.
And I believe the Lord's gift that he bestowed upon me was being a comfort for people when they need it the most. And I think that's what my mentor was trying to get to me at the time. It was like, you were there to provide that man comfort when he needed it most. There was no other time in his life that he was probably begging for help. And in that silent need, you were there to fulfill it.
Yeah.
And I took it in a certain way that maybe God was trying to prepare me for my career later down the road, that if someone was to die on my orders, a lot of people are usually like, when they see their first death, just like I was, they're completely shocked. They do not know how to handle it. And I'm like, maybe that was in a somewhat of a morbid way, the Lord showing me this is what will happen. How will you respond? And I don't know if I passed or if I failed. I don't even know if I'm going on the right track with that thought, but it gave me a real sense that yes, people die, because we hear about it all the time, but never are we usually there for the moment.
Yeah.
Including when it's ugly.
Oh yeah.
As such as that was. And I remember I emailed all my instructors. I'm like, hey, I'm not coming in for a day or two. Like I need time to recoup. Most of them were pretty chill with that. Like they were like, yeah, take the time you need. My PMS, he was awesome. Him and my master sergeant, if they ever listen to this, like they were a prime reason, one, I became like a good officer I think I am today, but two, like they were like, take the time you need. If you need someone to reach out to, we're here, and we have resources if you don't feel comfortable talking with us. Like they handled it incredibly professionally. and it was comforting that like your bosses cared about you.
Yeah.
And they didn't even ask questions. They didn't even ask like, oh really, like when did this happen, all this stuff. They were like, yeah, take time, like you're good, like don't worry about it. And like that was just very reassuring, because again I was an MS4, so like it was like I held a shop position.
Yeah.
I was S4, which I mean, like, don't dog on supply, man. We do a lot of work behind the scenes.
Hey.
But like
Balancing the budget's tough work.
hey man,
Which I imagine in that capacity.
If you want to know, you have 24 MREs or 42 MREs. But no, when you're trying to get 450 MREs for like kids, then you got to know how many people you got coming. Like math adds up. It's expensive, but it was a difficult time, because then I called my dad and I'm like, hey dad, again, same story. I just had a guy die in my arms, and like I'm not sure how to handle this. And I talked to my mentor, and I had a conversation with him, and I'm just not sure how to feel, because I'm still a little shaky about it. And my dad was, again, kind of the same train of thought. Like, you were there to provide him peace. Like, he might not ever know it, and you might not never realize it, but like in that moment, you were there for him when he had no one else to turn to. And it was comforting in a way. And then like it took about a week or two for me to really get over it, at that initial shock value. Like I had a lot of nightmares about it. I wouldn't say PTSD, because like that's a very broad term, but I would say I had some definite stress from it. I think I hyper fixated about it. I had to learn the guy's name, which I did. I learned more about the accident. I learned about the funeral date. I struggled with if I should go to the funeral. Like I started going crazy over it. Now my mentor said a really good thing is like, control what you can control. Like, you arrive on the scene. What can you control? Were you responsible for him for crashing the bike? Like, no. Like, were you responsible for not wearing a helmet or any protective gear? Like, no. He goes, so why are you so worried about it? I'm like, well, because he died. He goes, okay, so people die. Like, that's a tough realization we have to live with. But you were not in control of any of his actions. What you were in control of is how you responded. And so you responded correctly by just giving a crap and helping him.
Yeah.
You did not respond by videotaping or just standing there and looking. You decided to act. So take heart that your actions were correct. You cannot control any of the other circumstances. Like, do you need closure? Do you need, like, what are you looking for closure for? I said, well, I need closure to know what happened. Like, you know what happened to him.
Yeah.
You were there. You saw it. Like, and then he asked me a question that I didn't even think about it. He's like, you want me to burn your clothes? I was like, what? And he's like, the clothes. Like, you still have them? Like, yeah. I'm like, they're in like a trash bag. It's like, I haven't touched it in like a week. And he goes, you want me to burn them? Or like throw them away? I'm like, yeah, I'll throw them away. Like, I got home and I threw those clothes away. I felt a lot better, because like I was going to wash them, but then like it's weird, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I'm not like mystic, but like I did not like.
You're like holding on to like this tangible
experience.
Yeah, like it makes it real. Like this actually, I think it's one of those things where we have these experiences where like, did that really happen? It's like when you get a crazy dream and you wake up and you're like, I touch the walls and the floor to make sure like nothing's melting here. And I feel like it's one of those things where it's just like, nope, that was real, and I can take this and smell it. And it's just, I think that's a lot of things, right? Because I've heard about documentaries about war, and like whether it's World War II or like Vietnam or whatever. And it's like the reoccurring theme there is like, you can watch it all you want, but until you can smell it, that's not real. And it's like,
well, that's the thing. Like when you watch like documentaries about those guys in the Chosin Reservoir in Korea, that were like, the reason we won was the use of napalm extensively since like World War II in Japan. And that like that smell of just like constant burning human flesh and sub-freezing temperatures on Chinese troops all the time, and all you smelled was death and like freezing corpses. And like you hear about that and you're like, wow, that sounds really rough. But like I can't imagine actually like that's
See,
that's sin.
we had incinerators. I think I'm fairly confident on two of my deployments that were used by whomever used them, and like there were times where you're like, that one's a body.
Yep.
You're like, that not how that should smell. Like it's not. The trash smells different on Tuesday. You know what I mean?
There's a very distinct smell of burning flesh.
And like I couldn't, because there's certain things where like I'll be somewhere, do something, and it instantly takes me back. But like there like my deployments definitely have smells. Like there are times where
the human mind remembers certain scents and tastes as a sense of survival,
yeah,
and like a way to call back to things. And smell is definitely one of those. That's why I'm very cautious around alcohol, because when I smell alcohol, I think of the wreck.
Yep.
Um, I have nothing wrong with alcohol. I don't mind having a beer every now and then, but I don't like the scent of it because it takes me back to that to a degree.
Yeah.
Is that the only reason? No, I also just am not a huge fan of it. Like I try to stay away from it.
No, and I think
But there's definitely effects of like scents, like with you said with your deployments. So
yeah. And again, like never been in any I don't know too crazy or hairy situations while deployed, but again, there's very much I don't know if it's memories or experiences or just collectively like the smell of it. Like I don't know. There's something. It's like the smell of rain. Like the smell of rain can. You're just like, yep, that's rain. And like I know that one's ingrained in survival if I'm not mistaken. But there's just certain things where it's just like, oof. Because like there'll be times where I'll be doing something, especially being out here in Georgia. It's like I'll get a whiff of that mid spring air, and I'm just like, oh, it's gonna be a rough one. Because it's like, why? I had a rough like last time I smelled that, it was a rough day. And it was like, why? Basic training. So
Yep. Well, that's one of the things I love about like Missouri as a farmland. That when you wake up and you smell that sweet smell, because it's the rain and the hay and the local grasses, and like that takes me home. Like if I ever smell something similar to that, I'm like I think of like waking up early in the morning, sun's just rising, and it's still a little cool, and just that sweet like that wet feel, and like it just feels very homey to me.
Yeah.
And like I love it.
I like the I don't know, I can picture it in my head where it's like the smell and the calm before it snows.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, there's something about it where it's, and especially the feeling of like crisp air on your skin. I'm not because like I'm not a fan of humidity by any stretch of the imagination. But there's a level of humidity that's bearable about the Midwest. And again, like I spent time in Iowa, family's from there. Um, I've been I lived in Kansas for a little bit, which is again very similar climate. And like there's just something about that. It's about to snow kind of thing that just brings me a level of peace.
Something I find unique that I actually love about snow, talking about it, is the quiet that comes with it.
Yep.
Because it dampens all the noise.
Yeah.
And I just like being able to have that heightened sense and just enjoying just absolute calm.
Yep.
And just,
And I think that also has a big play in it, if you will, because I mean, you have the moments where, like even right now, like just sitting in the room, it's like I can hear everything that's on, I can hear everything that's going on, and even whether it's I'm at home or I'm at we'll say Buffalo Wild Wings grabbing lunch or something, it's like there's always so much going on in so many places where it's like I can't tell you the last time I sat down somewhere in public that was like supposed to be quiet and secluded and like you still hear cars and you hear AC units running and you hear all these sorts of things and like something about being and I guess I correlated to my grandparents' house, which is now I think maybe my dad's house. I'm not 100% certain yet. I don't know. But there's definitely like a piece about where I go when I think about like the first snow of the year, like the first heavy snow. Like even it's just nice.
Hmm. Talking about the past like probably 30 minutes or so for conversation. Back to one of your original questions that I meant to answer was is because talking about home made me think about this is the stars because there's barely light pollution where I live.
Yeah.
And just looking up at the stars and just being amazed and wanting to travel in them. And talking to your question is, how would I know my faith is false? If I had to, what would it take for me to not believe in my faith? And just the stars, it makes me think of it. If you could tell me that one cosmic explosion could make the entire galaxy from nothing, and that everything placed out there was just by chance and not by purpose, that the sun was put there by chance, because if we were an inch closer, we'd burn, and if we were an inch farther, we'd freeze. Like, if you're telling me all of this is by chance, that every historical document was faked through the entire world, and that free will isn't actually free will, it's just a word given to us to pretend we know what we're doing, and we're all predestined no matter what we do, and we knew that for a fact, then I would say Christianity wouldn't be worth believing in. But there's too much put up to chance in science. And as we advance scientifically, we keep proving the Bible's real. We keep finding things that link to the Bible that show it's real. But the human body, for one, that's so crazy. All the things we can do, how our eyes work, how our sweat controls everything about our internal organs, how we just process basic information with our brain, how it works. Like, there's so much things about our human body, and you're telling me I evolved from a fish or a monkey or whatever you want to believe for your common evolution. And I put too much faith in the Lord. I put too much stock in that. I put too much faith that I believe someone higher than me made me for a purpose and made me for a reason and put me here for a purpose, to think it was all left up to chance. And that's I would have to have solid proof that it's all been a wonderful psyop for me to drop my faith. You'd have to give me some very hardcore belief. Yeah. And modern science is starting to disprove the Big Bang and evolution. Just because even scientists now are like, okay, this is a little bit too much far of a stretch. They still don't believe in the theory of the Lord has made the universe and all that, because again, like, a lot of the scientists can't.
How do you prove that?
Prove that, exactly. Yeah. But they're starting to go like, okay, the Big Bang's a little far-fetched. It's a little bit too, the galaxy's a little bit too perfectly produced for this to be a far-fetched. But like, some of the prophecies just going into modern times reveals that the Dead Sea will once again return to life, which was thought scientifically impossible. The salt concentration is way too high. Fish will never thrive in the Dead Sea. That's why it's the Dead Sea. Fresh water is now being found in the Dead Sea, and there's life being formed in the Dead Sea once again. I can sit here and go over tons of archaeological discoveries, such as the Pharaoh's army that was drowned in the sea, or well, the Nile.
I was going to say that's when the Red Sea was parted.
The Red Sea was parted, and Moses and the Israelites walked across it, and then Pharaoh tried to chase them through the sea, and the waves crashed down. They found the actual chariot remains and armor pieces preserved under the mud and clay. Really odd place to store all that stuff by incident. So, where Sodom and Gomorrah was, they found actual sulfur deposits, which could only be made by incredible heat and unnatural heat that the sun would be able to produce by its own. And it says the Lord's brought down like fire and brimstone, which that would make the sulfur deposits a mass concentration of minerals. Again, more and more can be found that archaeological proofs keep proving Christianity, which is awesome. I love it. And then you'd have to tell me that you found the actual body of Jesus. That would 100% disprove the theory of that he was resurrected on the third day and the tomb was empty. If like you told me like it's actually the grave next door, just everyone forgot about it, and like here's his body, here's his clothes, then I would be crushed. But his grave was empty. There was an actual, what would be a modern like platoon half platoon-sized Roman garrison set there, sealed by the Roman governor. Like, no one can open this tomb, punishable by death. You're telling me that they all were just miraculously asleep and let Rome's like top guides disappear and move a massive stone by itself? Like, again, like there's just too much stuff to leave up to chance to believe that it's not a higher power's intervention.
Yeah.
And I've had too many things happen in my life that would be like, oh, it just happened because. Again, like I've had moments in my life where like I was going home for winter break once and I went to go turn. It was completely black outside. It was nighttime. I was at the street light and I was going to go turn because the light was green. I had the arrow. And it's something in the back of my head just said, just wait, like 5 seconds. No one was behind me, so I'm like, I guess I'll wait. I don't know why. I want to turn, but something's telling me not to. And this black Charger with no headlights on zips through the intersection. Dude's on his phone. I can see the glow of his screen as he passes me.
That's wild.
And if I would have turned originally, like I planned to, I would have been T-boned by that guy. I'm probably dead because he was going incredibly fast. I probably like 60, 70, but like still, no headlights on, no nothing. And if I would have turned, I would have been hit for sure.
That's insane.
And I'm like, yeah, that's a God moment right there.
Yeah.
Like, there's what else can you put that up to?
There was, I'll say for mine, right? Like I've had a ton of things that have happened in my life, and I think one of the most recent, right? So like I've been on my journey of sobriety and just a whole bunch of other things over the past 2 years, and it was back in May, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just trying to stay busy, clean the house, just nothing in particular is out of place, or like, I don't even know how to explain it, but like nothing was bad, but nothing felt good. And so I'm just like going through the motions of cleaning the house, taking care of the dogs, and like just trying to stay busy. And I've got music playing, and my phone goes off. And it's a friend of mine I hadn't talked to in 15 years, and I pull up the message now. Because it's wild. Like to me, it's absolutely insane. Um, it says, "Hey, this is going to be a really random text, so bear with me. I had a dream last night that I reached out to you, and the dream was so powerful that this is precisely why I'm doing that just now, or just that now. I want you to know that I will be praying for you because God spoke to me in my dream to tell me this is what I should be doing. I don't know what your situation is. I obviously haven't spoken to you in years. Mind you, it had been 15 years almost to the day since we had graduated high school together. But I'm praying for your peace, well-being, and understanding in life. I pray that you're genuinely happy and that God provides you with all of your wants and needs, and for you to be actively living your purpose in life. And just know that God loves you, cares for you so much that I feel He sent me to send you this message." And I just like on the floor bawling. And I was just like, even now I'm getting chills, but like,
Yeah.
it was one of those like, I don't know what I'm doing, how or why. It's just empowering. Just to be in the midst of struggle and get that message. It's just like, what do you know that I don't? Like somebody somewhere, like 15 years to, again, we're going to talk about things that are anomalies or shouldn't happen. 15 years where I don't know how many states apart. Like I haven't changed my number in that long. She hasn't changed her number in that long. Even if she has, she still had my contact saved, which like the only saving grace there is like I hadn't changed my number.
Yeah.
And like the fact that me of all people gets that message it's 10 o'clock, 10 something in the morning for me. So we're going to go Arizona time. That's what, 3-4 hours prior to. So depending on time of year. So it's either 6 or 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what? what do you mean? Like this, humbling to say the least. And I guess that's one of those things that keeps me sober, I guess. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't know, we talk a lot about believing in a higher power, like that I can't do this on my own. And like honestly, I'll say that for me, AA is a spiritual journey. Like I think that's the intent of the whole program. I'm not gonna speak for everybody else, but I mean, it absolutely is. And I think that is, I don't know. I look back into what I was doing in May, and like I was kind of falling off of. I don't know. I was almost in the midst of falling off the wagon, and like I don't know if I was debating drinking again at the time or like what was going on specifically. I know it had been a year removed from some tumultuous things that I'm not going to just throw out onto this right now. But there was a lot of things going on that was a year removed, and this was the whole like part of my PTSD, stuff that triggers that. And so like there was a lot of factors where it was just like, man, I needed. It's like thank you God for showing up. Like I don't know how, why, or like I know who, but like the rest of it, I have questions and like what I can't sit here and ask what does this mean?
Yeah,
like it is. I don't know. I seen another post probably today or yesterday, and it was a pastor that's like, can't question God. He's like, well, you can, but you got to be prepared to not like the answers.
yeah.
And it was in reference to Charlie Kirk, of course. And he was like, I don't know, you tell me why. And he's like, why what? Record Bible sales, record attendance at church, like record, I assume baptisms and like just this immense call to faith. And it's wild to me. Like just
the only other person or people that I can think of that have done such things in our history is you look at the 12 disciples of Jesus, who were all martyrs for Christ, who were the same as Charlie Kirk. I mean, you look at that. They preached the gospel. They preached the hard truth. They were there for educational and to talk. They were never there to criticize. Okay, I take that back. Some of the disciple work is there to criticize the actions of so-called Christians and how they were treating the Lord and their faith.
Yeah.
And there's time to get into that, of course. But their work was not there to hate people. Their work was not there to.
I was just about to ask if it's basically one of those things where it's like I'm not here to criticize, but it's like I will call you out.
They were exactly
exercising hate.
The disciples were there to call out backsliding Christians or fake Christians that easily turned their back on God when times got hard.
Yeah.
And the disciples constantly had to fight this battle, constantly, because they were fighting the Roman Empire, the Pharisees of Judaism, East Asia culture, all sorts of different things. And they were doing their best to spread the word of God, which was completely illegal during that time, and it still is in a lot of places.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize that.
Well, especially in that region of the world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it's a punishable by death offense still.
Yeah.
Still. And the disciples died for their faith.
Which, again, can we take a second to appreciate like how the Bible made it out of there?
Yeah.
Because
like for the Bible to reach the world.
I don't want to get too far off topic here, but like you look at, if I'm not mistaken, what is it? Muhammad recognizes Christ?
Kind of, yeah.
In some part of the Quran?
A little bit. But there's always usually a figure that represents Jesus, but it is never the actual Savior.
Yeah.
A lot of people believe that he was a miracle doer or he was a prophet, but no one actually believes that Jesus was the Son of God. Everyone thinks it, due to their different religions or ways, it's impossible to have a Son of God.
And so
what's unique is there is usually a man or someone like Jesus that is in almost every version of every religion, but it's always a little different.
Yeah. Well,
And we can get into that, of course, at another time. But